Central Michigan returns home for the first time in 3. After a thrilling overtime win last night, they face a team that is off to their best start to a season in years. It's Central Michigan against the University of Michigan-Flint Wolverines. Hello, everybody, and good evening from Martin Ice Arena. I'm Devin Serra, joined alongside my broadcast partner, Reagan Cleaves, for this second of this two-game weekend series. And Reagan, what a game we saw last night from Burton, Michigan, as from Crystal Fieldhouse, Michigan-Flint took Central Michigan to overtime, and CMU came out with the overtime W. And what a game we saw. We saw about everything in that contest.
Indeed. We saw a ton of fluky stuff happen on the ice here at Crystal Fieldhouse. Gibbs attempted a Michigan, failed, but scored nonetheless. We're calling that a single-handed Zegras. We'll get to that more in a moment. We also saw a deflection in the slot that tied the game on a center ice dump in. And it was a good test of resilience for CMU. They struggled a little bit, especially in that second period. They got a little bit complacent. They had that 3-goal lead. They're like, okay, we can settle down. Michigan-Flint showed why they're a much better squad this year than they were last season by coming back and tying up the game heading into that third, and CMU ended up getting the win.
Sam Camara, assisted by Clayton Baker, had the game-winning goal in overtime. It was CMU's second overtime game this season. They are now 1-1 on the campaign in that statistical mark, and they look to complete that resume here tonight with the weekend sweep. Taking a look at our look around the MCHC tonight, Lawrence Tech taking on Michigan State here tonight in their tilt. Michigan State off to a little bit of a rocky start to this season. Lawrence Tech coming off of their tournament appearance and nationals last season. They're going to look to rebound and continue that trend. Hope College versus Oakland, a very interesting matchup. Oakland only lost 5-3 last night against Hope College, the reigning national champions two-time. And Hope College, normally we talked about, lost to Saginaw Valley State earlier this season. What a showing by the Golden Grizzlies.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Right.
You're good. And exactly. Hope this year, coming off of back-to-back national championships, both in 2021 and 2022, they seem to struggle, or at least face better competition through the first part of this year. The teams they've been playing have been maybe evened out a little bit over the past couple of seasons, and that's a trend we've not only noticed with Hope, but also around the MCHC and around the division, around the ACHA's Division 3. It seems to be a level playing field wherever we go.
The only other game we're watching tonight is Calvin University taking on Grand Valley State. Grand Valley lost 4-2 against Notre Dame last night, handing the Irish their 11th straight win on the campaign this season. Reagan, a closer look at the two teams here today.
Indeed, Central Michigan coming off that win last night. Now it sits at 6-3-1 with 13 points on the campaign. They are now 1-0 in the MCHC East. Those 2 points good enough to slot them in third in the division, ahead of a couple of teams who have lost both their games, including Michigan, Oakland, and Adrian, who have gone winless in their games in the MCHC East. They snapped a 4-game losing streak last night, Devin, against these Michigan-Flint Wolverines. A great show of resilience. They had struggled in the latter half of the month of October, so it's good to see CMU get back on that right foot. And this is only their second in-division game of the season. The MCHC, known to be a hard division to play in, and it's certainly been the case the last couple of seasons with Hope and Grand Valley and the likes of Saginaw Valley State, but they seem to be doing a good job, at least getting off the right foot in division play. As for University of Michigan-Flint, they are 6-3-2 on the campaign, 14 points. They are 0-1 in conference. They sit in fourth place, right behind Central Michigan, by virtue of only having played one game, and that slots them ahead of the other teams that have played 2 games and have come out with fewer points. That was their first loss in 7 games for Michigan-Flint. They were on a 6-game win streak before they ended up losing to Central Michigan last night. They had only won a single game through 10 to start last season. So this is a big turnaround year for U of M Flint, and it'll be interesting to watch them as we go on.
6-4-1 in the season, their second straight overtime loss coming earlier this year against Adrian. Central Michigan leads this series 12-4 all time. Since 1920, they are 6-0 against these Flint Wolverines. And the only time they won this series in 2018 was on this very ice at Martin Ice Arena. So we'll see if their season series continues where it's been in the Chippewas dominating fashion. Looking at our scratchers here tonight, none to report on either side as of late. We saw late in that game last night that Lauren Jones, attributed to him, had a couple of troubles with himself and kept the Chippewas in the game. But it looks like the virtual starter tonight will be Elijah Jones. We'll let you know ahead of puck drop, because you never know with head coach Tyler Cataline whether he'll change his mind the last second or not. Keeps us on our toes up here in the broadcast booth.
Indeed.
Looking at our players to watch here today, Reagan Keelan Baker, the captain for Central Michigan, a goal and an assist last night, had a phenomenal job and was really a benefactor to CMU's win.
Exactly. Last night, he not only had a goal, but he set up the game-winning goal for Sam Camara in overtime with just 1:50 left. He picked up a pass off the boards up at the left point and found a wide-open Camara in the right circle, and that's good seeing eye pass there by the captain for Central Michigan, a veteran in this league. He was able to use his hockey IQ and find that opening on the far side, and he should be fun to watch here this year. He's got 5 goals and 3 assists on the campaign. It's been a very productive sliding back up to forward after he spent last season down on the defensive end of things for CMU, and he's played very well here through the first half of this season.
Our second player to watch on Central Michigan's side is the transfer sophomore from Arcadia University, Nathan Bottles. Boy, oh boy, has he showed out these last couple games. He has 2 goals last night early in that first period. He looked very quick, playing on that line with Andrew Porzondik and Connor Morgan. He's going to have to be another benefactor and a player that's really expected to come into his own, especially now during the mid-portion of the season.
Indeed, he brings that leadership to the Chippewas and that experience from the NCAA level. He has been a valuable component to this team, he's been on the score sheet multiple times, not only scoring but also distributing the puck as well, leading to goals in the assist category. For University of Michigan-Flint Devon, Josh Appleberg had the hat trick last night, adds on to the 6 goals he had last season, coming into that game, and he's now up to 9 goals, 6 assists on the campaign, team leading 15 points in just 10 games for Josh Appleberg, and he's also joined by Owen Morrison, Devin.
Yeah, Owen Morrison had a very strange goal last night that actually tied up the hockey game. He flew a puck from the left blue line all the way on net, and it ricocheted off Austin Ritter's leg behind Lauren Jones to tie up the hockey game. He's our player to watch because he had 3 assists last night, 2 of which were on Appleberg's goals as part of his hat trick. He's been a very solid player on that line with Appleberg, and he's going to have to be strong once again if he wants to see his team victory, who, let's face it, University of Michigan-Flint is very top-heavy on their forward lines. We'll have to see their 2 players to watch, Appleberg and Morrison, play well here tonight. Reagan, our keys to the game. We talked about it last night a bunch. The face-offs must be better for Central Michigan here tonight if they want to win.
Indeed, they have struggled not only last game but also all season in the face-off circles, especially after losing Joey Simoncelli to graduation last season. It's been a tough battle for CMU in the circles, but they need to turn that around tonight, or at least get some momentum in the face-off circle. And we saw what damage Appleberg can do on the face-offs. He took one end-to-end off of a face-off last night and ended up jump-starting the U of M Flint offense there in that second period. They also need to continue to put the puck on net. They had a lot of dirty goals last night, so to speak, bounces in front, deflections. It was just a messy game in front of the U of M Flint goal last night, and for CMU, they need to continue to capitalize on those.
And continuing your point from earlier, Josh Appleberg, that hat trick, CMU's going to have to contain him tonight because he is firing on all cylinders for this Flint Wolverine team.
Indeed, he has been. He was all over the ice last night. Obviously getting that hat trick, but he's had Lauren Jones's number not just last night, but since they were a lot younger. They played youth hockey together, and so they're back on the ice battling out against each other, and that was a tough loss for Appleberg last night, but he was phenomenal getting chances to the net, and CMU, if they want to stop him, or if they want to stop U of M Flint, have to shut him down.
That'll just about do it for our pregame show presented by SeaMitchIceHockey.com. Stay tuned as we'll have Central Michigan versus Michigan-Flint coming up right here after this intermission. Stay tuned. Central Michigan women's team won 5-4 in overtime just a little bit ago. This place was rocking. We'll see if they can continue that atmosphere here and lead the Chippewas to victory in this second game of this weekend series. Stay tuned. Puck drop is next between Central Michigan and Michigan-Flint right here on CCHN.
National anthem has concluded. Let's take a look at tonight's starting lineups presented by Optum Exports. For the Wolverines of Michigan-Flint, they send out Luke Roberts, who in 5 games has a 3-2-1 record, a goals against average of .285 and a save percentage of .833. As for Central Michigan, they likewise play the goaltending change. Then go with number 1, Elijah Jones, who is 1-0-1 in 3 games played, 399 goals against average and an .889 save percentage.
Thanks, Reagan. Starting lineup presented once again by CMHIceHockey.com. For the Michigan Wolverines, they send out number 13, Dakota Lehman, number 17, Daniel Coughlin, and number 24, Trevor Keller. At defense, number 26, Gavin Harwood, and number 19, Stefano Scipiano. For the Central Michigan Chippewas, they send out the top line. It consists of Andrew Porzondek, Connor Morgan, and Nathan Bottles. The starting defensemen are Austin Ritter and Charlie Hayes. We've got 20 minutes on the score clock ahead of this game 2 of this weekend series. Central Michigan digging in, and it's won the opening draw by Michigan-Flint. From right to left, them in their maize and blue uniforms with the Michigan-Flint crest on top. On left, Central Michigan in their maroon and gold heavy sweaters, and they start up on the draw with the first offensive attack. At the blue line, Christopher Martin sends it in deep for Connor Morgan. He's met up there by the captain, Scipiano, and he sends it in deep to the zone, and right over there, getting across there was Porzondek. Looked for a feed one-timer for Morgan and never found him. Now to the end boards. Get it back up top there. For Austin Ritter, just skips over his shoulder, and he has to go back to center to retrieve it.
Great first shift for Central Michigan, getting the offensive zone pressure on the Wolverines, something that Michigan-Flint took to CMU last night. Good to see the Chippewas getting on the right side of that one here tonight.
Central Michigan won 6-5 last night in overtime after they went up big 3-0 in the first period. The second, the Wolverines came storming back. Josh Appleberg, one of our key players tonight to watch, had the hat trick in the second period alone. But from there on, Central Michigan stayed resilient in a 5-5 tie in overtime. It was won by Sam Kamara off the blade of Keelan Baker. Now into the Central Michigan zone. Here come the Wolverines. But back quickly in transition, Central Michigan regains possession. Here's Isaac Gibbs, the star sophomore from Novi, Michigan. Had a goal last night. We're calling the single-handed Zegras because he attempted the Michigan, but it ended up being a whacking stick that he put in the back of the net with a wraparound in midair. What a goal.
Isaac Gibbs, the leading scorer for Central Michigan thus far this season. In 9 games, he has 10 goals, 5 assists. He's been great presence up front for CMU, and now he's got the puck down the left side.
Back on the play, taking off Hayden Rose from the puck, gets it up the wing, shot from the slot, and that one easily saved there by the starting netminder Roberts, in place for Ryan Rogers, who had a phenomenal game last night, but they like to go with the other goaltender.
Indeed, Michigan-Flint, Ryan Rogers played wonderful last night, but he and Roberts have split time throughout this season, both of them playing 10 games. Dominic Temple, their third goaltender, getting in 2 games as well, so they tend to even out the goaltending time, and here's a shot, and Roberts makes the save.
Here's a face-off. Digging in again is Jay Nadeau. Boy, last night, Isaac Gibbs digging in, actually. Central Michigan struggled heavily on the face-offs, Reagan. They seemed they couldn't get anything going throughout the draws all game long, and it just led to Wolverine chances.
Exactly. We saw an Appleberg goal scored end-to-end off of an offensive zone draw for CMU that Isaac Gibbs couldn't win, and CMU, that's something they need to do better tonight here. Look out.
Oh, look out. Bad giveaway by Sam Kamara. Getting in there was Grayson McKenzie to pick the puck up. Lost it prematurely, and now CMU gets it back to reset.
We saw a couple of opportunities for Michigan-Flint last night, including one in overtime where late in the third, where CMU miscued on a pass inside their defensive end in a tie hockey game, and Michigan-Flint's McKenzie was stoned on an opportunity by Lauren Jones. That's something CMU needs to watch out for tonight, those giveaways in the defensive end.
Dangerous opportunity for Central, negated by Michael Heiberger, as that was Ben Rychuk working down low, trying to send it in front. Now here back up top in the slot, Siraki tried to whiff on it, and he definitely got not enough, and it went back to the end boards, wrapped around in front of the Michigan-Flint bench, and this one sent back deep into the zone by Julian Johnson.
That's when Siraki has caught up in his skates. He can't really get it on his stick quick enough in order to get that shot off. That just needs to be a better pass placement from Johnson down in the corner.
Austin Ritter working down low to Ben Rychuk. Missed time during the Notre Dame series. Was a physical and a captain leadership presence that Central Michigan dearly missed, as they lost 11-4 the first game and then 6-5 in overtime the second, as we get a quick whistle here for the icing. It'll come back the other way to the right circle, it looks like. Still waiting on the official determination. Right circle it'll go to. But, Reagan Central, they won their first last night in 4 after they were swept in that Notre Dame weekend series. They dropped games before that to Florida Gulf Coast and Ferris State after starting 5-0. So it's really been an up-and-down stretch for CMU, and they finally were able to get some sort of confidence back last night.
Indeed, and here's Porzanic right off the draw, and CMU really needed that game last night. It was an up-and-down game, a little bit of a microcosm of their season thus far. They had a great start getting out 3-0 just 2 minutes into the second period, but then Michigan-Flint came back and to tie the game before we went into the third period, and they ended up winning and in overtime on that Sam Kamara deflection out in front as this goes up and out of play right off of the faceoff.
They sit just above the 500 mark now at 6 wins, 3 losses, 1 overtime loss officially. And you remember back to last year, Reagan, how in overtime games they wouldn't be able to finish the job and even get it done. They had record-breaking 6 ties throughout last season. And boy, did it frustrate you and I up in the booth, but more or less that team. And, they sit 1-1 in overtime games this season, but an excellent showing last night, able to stay resilient and finish the job. Now they look at the slot area shot for the right circle. That was Nathan Bottles working in. Bottles had 2 goals early in that first period, sort of kind of fluke goals that were redirected in front, but, Nathan Bottles, a transfer from Arcadia, uses his speed and vision. He's got a great hockey IQ sense.
Indeed. Luke Roberts has a save percentage hovering just about at 88%, and Central Michigan testing him early with shots from all over the ice. It's good to see them getting shots on goal. They were outshot last night by Michigan-Flint, kind of a surprise after last year, but it's good to see them getting shots on Roberts early and testing him here at Martin.
16-14 left to go in this first period. Devin Sarah joined alongside Reagan Cleaves for the second of this 2-game weekend series from Martin Ice Arena. Central, as we mentioned, 6-5 overtime win last night. Looking to repeat that effort here. Right now knotted at zeros as they've had a lot of offensive zone possession time and got some shots on the goaltender Rogers early. Made it tough for him.
That's a good hustle there by Isaac Gibbs to get over to the left half boards and knock away that clearing attempt and able to keep the puck in the zone for CMU.
Now behind Luke Roberts' net is Justin Zeiler, the assistant captain, will work with it. Turn the puck over quickly. It was sent in deep by Nadu, and he turns it back to the corner. Now a missed pass back to the blue line there, intended for Braden Keel, the freshman defenseman. Only played in 3 games so far this season. Came back during that Notre Dame weekend series and played solid. We'll look to improve his efforts here tonight. Now through center. Missed pass intended for Isaac Gibbs from Jay Nadu. He turns back to retrieve it. He'll whiff it over to Sam Kamara, who turned the puck over. Working with it behind his Michigan-Flint over there, number 18, Owen Lawson. Lawson had a goal last night off of a very strange bounce. It went off Austin Ritter, past the goaltender Jones, and that one out of the game up at 5 last night, but this one allows both teams to change. Check goes all the way back to Elijah Jones, the starting goaltender, freshman from Port Huron, Michigan. Reagan, we talked about how this goaltender battle has had an ongoing sense this year. Lauren Jones didn't have the greatest night in the second period, led up that hat trick, but he played phenomenal, allowing 3 clutch saves late in the third period. Tell you what, Elijah Jones, if he wants to make his case tonight, he's got to one-up that.
Exactly, and it's a hard performance to one-up. Outside of that second period, Lauren Jones struggled. Looked like he was laboring as the game got along in that third period. Central Michigan called a timeout. That gave him some time to regroup and recover, and he was lights out from that point on.
Here's Josh Appleberg, as we mentioned, had the hat trick last night, working it against Brandon Clements, the freshman defenseman, who's been working at forward so far in the third line for Tyler Cataline, who, with the replacement of Keegan Moore, looked to put him at that forward position, but playing both ways. Now here's Nathan Bottles up the left wing. Moves past one defender, couldn't get past the second, and it sits at the left blue line. Now through neutral zone. Here comes Michigan the other way. Dumps his puck in to get fresh bodies on the ice. Clemens has to go back to retrieve it, and all of Michigan will reset and allow both teams to change. Quick puck reamed around the end boards to go back for the icing call. And this will send it back to the opposite zone. 14-12 left to go in this first. Reagan, a couple of key trends we saw throughout, not just last night, but the last couple, is the 180 turnaround for Michigan-Flint. As last year they were 4-14 on the season, as they went 0-3-1 out of the box. But this year, 6-3-2 officially, 6-4-2 to start the year. They have played 6-3-1 to start the year too. I've got all my numbers mixed up. Point is, they've been a much better team to start out the gate this year.
Indeed. They struggled last season, only getting 8 points on the campaign. And CMU was part of that early on. They put the pedal to the metal early against Michigan-Flint here at Martin Ice Arena a year ago today, winning 12-3 at home in a blowout win. And it was really how quickly Central Michigan started. They scored 3 minutes in as this play is going to be whistled off sides. And from there on, it was all CMU.
Basically, everybody scored in that game last year. Isaac Gibbs had a goal. Keelan Baker. Well, a couple of notable departures. Brendan Martin. A couple of those alumni in attendance here today, Reagan. You were talking with Justin McComas over by the Central Michigan end. Notable players, that played a long time for the Chippewas, 100-plus games in a uniform sweater. Justin McComas was, and Brendan Martin. And, those are the type of guys where, CMU, seeing those guys in attendance, they might want to step it up a little bit.
Yeah, Brendan Martin has been in attendance at most Central Michigan games this season. It's good to see him still come back and support the team here, a team that he put so much blood, sweat, and tears into over the years. It's good to see him come back, support this team, and I've been talking to him, and he wants so much to get back involved with this Central Michigan hockey team, and not going to happen this season, but we'll see in seasons going forth.
Quick face-off negated after it was whistled off. A couple of starts and stops in this first 6.5 minutes of this hockey game. Central Michigan head coached by Tyler Cataline, assisted by Austin Whaley at the forecheck and Tyler Koth on the defensive pairings.
Now you talk about face-off wins, Devin. That's a great face-off win there by Jay Nader to push the puck past his opposing centerman and get it and pick up the puck in the bottom of the right circle and get a quick shot there on Roberts.
From an eyeball view, CMU lost more than 70% of their face-off draws last night, and it's really been a struggle for them all year as that little hand pass, I would say, negated there.
How was that not too many men on the ice?
Too many men,
yeah. Three guys right over at the bench with 3 of them out on the ice, and one of them at the bench played it. I'm not sure how that's not.
4-man crew at the Martin Ice Arena for the first time in a long time, Reagan, that we've seen. This crew worked last night's game as well, so making the trip over from Burton to call this series. And 12:41 to go in this first period. A little bit of slow starts. Here's Isaac Gibbs with a shot blocked in front there. Trying to get the rebound was Keelan Baker, and it goes back up to Braden Keel. Keel down low, works into Baker. Baker sent one in front, and that was blocked off the blade of Luke Roberts, the goaltender. Comes to the other side for Camara. He'll dump it in once again. Fighting forward is a pair of 19, Shapono and Isaac Gibbs. Gibbs down on the ice, gets it back up, and Siraki takes it over at the far side half wall. Now he'll work with it behind. Turns, waits, goes back up top to Camara. Camara back down low. Camara had the game-winning goal last night in overtime. Trying to keep it at the blue line. He does. Siraki fighting for it, and Michigan finally gains possession of it, and they'll work it out to center.
Great zone possession there for Central Michigan. They were able to keep the puck in, cycle it, get a couple of good opportunities on Roberts. They had a couple of shots blocked, but they still managed to gain pressure and get some shots on Roberts as this is going to go for icing against CMU.
A couple of starts and stops in this hockey game, Reagan. It seems like neither team has really been able to get a solid flow going. That was the first time we really saw Central Michigan have a solidified, controlled offensive zone time.
And something we didn't really see last night until about the 11:47 mark, or until about this time in the first period last night. But CMU, despite not having a ton of opportunities thus far in the offensive end, they've still done a good job of getting to the puck. Look out.
Quick face-off came back to Central forwards right in front of Elijah Jones, and that one scooped up by Sam Camara, but not without pressure. Siraki moves it across to center for Ben Rychuk, the assistant captain. Turns wide with it. That's going to negate a tripping call, and it will come up here. Michael Heiberger was the party foul in that one, and so it draws the first blood for Central Michigan on the power play. They'll go with 11:30 left in this first period, and Reagan, special teams have been a storyline for this team. They have been averaging over a goal per game, sitting at unofficially 11 goals on 44 chances. Good enough for 26%. That's pretty good numbers.
Yeah, really good numbers. 25% on the year, 11 for 44 CMU on the campaign. But at home, last night was a different story. They went 0 for 3 on the man advantage. They're trying to turn that around here in this series.
Nathan Bottles from the right circle sent that one across, looking for Jay Nadeau and put too much heat on it. He came back off the half wall, back to Charlie Hayes. Christopher Martin and Hayes will tag up from the top of the left circle, send it on net, and that one got blocked in front. Back to the end boards now. They fight for it. Here's Bottles again with it. To the right circle. Takes a point-blank shot, and that one turned wide, looking for the top left corner. And Charlie Hayes can't hold it at the line, and he'll go back to retrieve it.
Charlie Hayes was a bit careless getting over that puck. Didn't hustle as much as he could have to keep that puck in, and Central Michigan is forced to regroup.
Here's the hot hand. Nathan Bottles again turns wide with it. His signature to the right circle in front. A couple of Wolverines knocked that one away. Good presence by the defenseman to get out of the passing lanes and clog the middle, and that forces CMU to change bodies, and they'll go back. Here's Sam Camaro working with it. Yes. Here comes Isaac Gibbs. Tags up with him, and they'll move it out through center, trying to get the rush going. Dumps it in deep. Porzanic will go in to retrieve it on the other side. It'll be met up by Isaac Gibbs in the blue line. He'll tag up other side there, intended for Sam Camara. Gets it back there with Gibbs. Morgan setting up high. Shot on net, and that one went off the left pad. It looked like of Roberts and over his netting. And this one back up top. Here's Connor Morgan across. Isaac Gibbs waits, turns, shoots. That one went off a body, deflected wide, and that one, Ben Rychuk was in front, trying to get the deflection, and it turned it around the other way.
Couple of good key saves there by Roberts in that offensive zone for CMU. Roberts had a couple of shots from Isaac Gibbs that he had to fend off that he really couldn't see with a bunch of bodies out in front.
20 seconds to go in this power play. They score! Andrew Porzanic gets another one. Chippewas on top on the power play.
Andrew Porzanic channeling his inner Josh Appleberg. Same spot. Appleberg scored twice from last night, right in the right circle. This time he puts it above the glove, or above the blocker of Luke Robertson. Porzanic, for him, that's goal number 9 on the year. He pulls back within one of Isaac Gibbs for the team lead. And at 10-19, Central Michigan strikes first.
Andrew Porzanic, the senior from Macomb, Michigan, putting up record high numbers this year, leading the team in points to this point with 16, averaging over 1.5 points per game. And boy, what a big time play from a big time player who really, Reagan, has done it all, especially during that Notre Dame series where he had 4 goals.
And for Andrew Porzanic, that is points in 4 straight hockey games. He had a goal last Friday against Notre Dame ahead of a phenomenal 5-point night in that 6-5 loss. And then last night he had an assist on the first goal of the game for Central Michigan, and he once again factors in on a Central Michigan first goal. That's now his 4th straight game with a point in the first goal.
SAMU's 12th power play goal of the season. They improved that 26% mark they're at. And right now, back in the 5-on-5 strength, they take first blood as the score clock still needs to put 1-0 on the board in favor of CMU, but it is correct on our score sheet. Here is Brendan Clements working with it up the right wing. He'll move it and turn it inside, and they indicated that with an offside. Nathan Bottles just one step too far ahead for Clements. So this faceoff will come back to the near side circle, and it will be drawn.
Grayson McKenzie took a fall into the boards. It looked like a bit of a nasty one as he got twisted up. Let's hope he's okay. Don't forget that the CMU Club Hockey Network YouTube channel is your one-stop stop for highlights, exclusive interviews, and full game broadcasts for men's D3 and women's D2 hockey. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so as never to miss a moment of Chippewa hockey. Just go to YouTube and search CMU Club Hockey Network to find the channel. CCHN, your home for Chippewa hockey.
And some extracurriculars between Porzanic and Owen Morrison. They got chippy last night, too. Porzanic had a pretty good chirp that I won't repeat on the air, but it had something to do with the age of one of the Michigan Wolverine players. Nonetheless, this face-off will be drawn out here. It looks like they're going to talk about it. Actually, they're going to send both of them to the box for that little scrum. So, coincidental minors assessed here. It looks like we're going to have a little bit of 4-on-4 action for the time being.
It's either going to be yes, it is going to stay. It is going to be 4-on-4. Porzanic and Morrison both off. No power play for either team here.
I wish we had statistics on 4-on-4. A lot more open ice. You know, CMU, not one of those teams normally that plays better on the open ice end, but Nonetheless, a face-off draw to dig in. Jay Nadeau to take it and lost that draw. We talked about the face-off woes being the Achilles heel of this team so far throughout the last 4 or 5 games or so. And it continues here as for the first period, Central Michigan on top 1-0 after Andrew Porzonic's power play goal. And they're actually going to put up now on the board Porzonic's penalty, but still waiting on Morrison. Now here's 8 minutes to go in this first period. Working with it, Brandon Clements. Jay Nadeau out there, along with Isaac Gibbs for this power play 4-on-4 group. Jay Nadeau works the right wing circle. He'll stop at the half wall, turned around a defender, and still worked with it up top. Clements couldn't handle the hot pass from Nadeau back up top, and it goes all the way back to Elijah Jones, who will handle it and send it up for him. Now Nadeau pushes wide across the gap. He'll go side to side with it. Isaac Gibbs couldn't handle a pass that was intended from Braden Keel. And so now, once again, CMU in their own zone looks to tag up with it. Now Keel takes it up right wing. He'll wait. Takes a hit check from the number 13 defender, Dakota Lehman. And he'll send it back now to the Central Michigan zone. 55 seconds left to go in this 4-on-4. Here's Chapono winding up with it and turned it wide off the end boards. Well wide of the right post of Elijah Jones. Now at center. Lost his stick. Was Ben Rychuk. He retrieves it now. Chapono sends another one off the end boards. Nobody there to retrieve it. And Rychuk steps up into Morrison, or Lehman. What a hit there from the Central Michigan bench. And no calls are called adjusted on that. Ben Rychuk will go back for it. Looked like he got him up high, but nonetheless, none coming.
The hit was fine. It was more the back check there by Lehman.
Turnover here from Michigan. Connor Morgan, loose puck in front, and Roberts just gets across to pick up the loose change. Boy, what a wrister by Connor Morgan, the freshman who's impressed very well in his first couple games at Chippewa.
Connor Morgan, a dangerous winger for Central Michigan thus far in the season. Morgan's got 4 goals and 2 assists, and that one was almost goal number 5, and it could have been it could have been assist number 3 if Morgan if the Chippewas had somebody on the back door.
Points in 8 of his last 10 games. Played at Lake St. Mary's High School with teammate Sam Camara as a puck was sent in from the blue line on Charlie Hayes, and Nathan Bottles retrieved it. Good cycle from the Chips here. Charlie Hayes turned a puck wide off a deflection, and it comes back now for Bottles again. Sends one in front, and Morgan's not able to pick up that deflection. Now Central Michigan pressuring the Wolverines in their own zone. A good amount of offensive zone time as the 4-on-4 ended, and they go back to even strength. Central Michigan on top 1-0 after Andrew Porzonic's power play goal about halfway through this first period. And it was a beauty from the right circle. So Central, as they did last night, striking first as lookout. Connor Morgan lost an edge, and jumping all the way over his body was Owen Morrison. Now the Wolverines dump it in quickly. Elijah Jones goes in back to play it. He gets help from his defenseman Clements, who will send it up the rink-wide glass for Julian Johnson on a 1-on-2. His team's changing. He recognizes that and takes a shot on net, just trying to kill some time here. The Wolverines will regain possession, however.
Now Morgan and Gibbs were gassed after that one, so they came off, and that left Johnson in on a 1-on-2.
Turned up the wall here. Getting back for it is Christopher Martin. He'll whack it to Siraki. Trickles it up to Julian Johnson, and off his right shoulder, he'll play it out to center. Here's Rychuk again, trying to step around one defender. That was Gavin Harwood. He had none of it. Now he gets it back here. Here is Julian Johnson. Turns wide with it to the corner. Gets past one guy to the end boards. The other side, Christopher Martin trails him wide. He'll turn it up top for him. Takes a shot on net, and that point-blank range is easily stopped by Roberts, who makes the chest protector save with 5:04 left.
Roberts saw that one all the way from the right point off the wrist of Christopher Martin, but right out in front, Grayson McKenzie almost deflected that one as he was trying to maybe bat it down out of the air. But if the Wolverines learned anything from last night, it's not to do that. We saw Austin Ritter deflect a dump in into his own net last night, and that's something that McKenzie may want to hold back the instinct to do that.
And let's not forget that Nathan Bottles' first goal of that hockey game actually went off a Wolverine defender's stick and deflected into their own net. So
good hit there by
Keelan
Baker at neutral ice.
Here's Isaac Gibbs, winds up, shoots. That one just turned off the blocker's side of Roberts. Oh, he almost had that one up in the wickets of him, but he's turned it aside and got it back to the near side post. He gets the whistle from the referees. 4:43 left in this first. A couple of good chances for CMU Reagan as Andrew Porzonic capitalized on that goal and puts them now up just by 1. The broadcast of today's game is a copyrighted presentation of the CMU Club Hockey Network. And Stay tuned. We'll have the intermission report coming up for you in this first period, presented once again by SeamanChiceHockey.com with Reagan Cleaves recapping all the action for the first period as well as our out-of-town scoreboards. Now, at the blue line, Isaac Gibbs sends one in deep once again and missed on the wide shot attempt. This one comes to Clemens, who takes a clapper, blocked in front off the skate of Josh Appleberg, and now he'll take it now behind his own net and go D-to-D now with his own Chapono. Quick shot turned over, and that one was saved by Roberts. He had to have the quick reflexes across and get to that one on his glove side.
Great opportunity there by Keelan Baker, who had a goal in a similar situation last night. And he was just turned aside by Roberts as he was an icing call against Michigan-Flint.
Charlie Hayes went back to take it, the senior from Ada, Michigan. Through 10 games played this season, 4 goals, 3 assists on the year. A first-year captain, replaced that elder statesman, Brendan Martin, who we talked about, is in the building tonight representing the Chippewa faithful. And he expressed the offseason that the expectation for this CMU team is not only to make it for the MCHC tournament and 2 nationals, but to actually go for the gold and win it all this year. But this year, through the growing pains of the early portion of this season with losses to Florida Gulf Coast, Ferris State, and Notre Dame, that quest has been questioned a number of times. With a young group as new as faces we've seen with this team, the likes of Nathan Bottles, Connor Morgan, they've had to step up. Now here's Porzonik. Has one tonight. He gets another. They score from the slot area. Andrew Porzonik picks up the loose change, wrists it past Roberts. Central Michigan leads 2-0.
Yeah, good shot there by Andrew Porzonik right off the face-off. And Central Michigan now leads 2-0 off of a Andrew Porzonik. For him, that is goal number 10 on the year. He's now tied with Isaac Gibbs. So Porzo's got 2 tonight. He's in a bit of a hot streak, Devin.
Yeah, absolutely. And Andrew Porzonik, we talked about him earlier, coming off ACHA career highs last season. Had 11 goals, 12 assists, and 23 points in just 26 games. And he's already matched that in close to less than half. So Andrew Porzonik solidifying himself as the finisher for this team. Is looked out. Here's a chance for Wolverines. The shot. They get that one back on the rebound, and Elijah Jones said no twice. What a stop from the freshman.
Couple of good saves there by Elijah Jones. He had a couple of problems with that, and here's a penalty coming up on Central Michigan. Ben Rychuk's going to go to the box.
Ben Rychuk, the senior from Granville, led this team in penalty minutes last season by a wide margin. Still looking for that first goal of this season. He's known for his physicality and his uncanny ability to get inside the opponent's head and frustrate him, but a frustrated Rychuk himself will go to the box. Central Michigan will see the penalty kill that has been one of their strongest suits this season, Reagan. Nearly flawless this year. Sitting at wonderful numbers, an 88% penalty kill. Could be up to about 90% after last night they killed off power plays. So this one, they're going to have to dig in here with 2 minutes and 3:19 left to go in this first, up 2-0.
Central Michigan was perfect on the penalty kill last night. They did a really good job to contain Michigan to the outside and not allow them to get a ton of shots out from the points.
Now moving up top with it, a quick clapper taken from the right circle by Gunnar Birmingham. Negated off Elijah Jones, and his teammates picked up the loose change to get that one back down the other end. Now 20 minutes gone in that first power play for the Wolverines. They were 0 for 3 on the night last night. Not able to capitalize, and CMU, who played excellent through their penalty chances, is one of the better teams in the MCHC when it comes to being 4-on-5 shorthanded. The Wolverines look to set up now. Birmingham up top for Zeitler, who sent one onto the end boards well wide. Back down behind for Appleberg, who can't control it. And taken down from behind on the play. Clemens taking up the change, and looks like they're going to call that one as Clemens took down his man, Owen Morrison, behind the net. And we'll see what the referees
They just called
on it.
Just called a face-off. Saw that the puck wasn't moving along the end boards, and referees blew it dead, so they'll have a draw to the left. Elijah Jones here.
Nathan Bottles to dig in. The transfer from Arcadia University. Talked about him. He's been that two-way forward, really, for them all season. Able to get on the scoring sheet, but also able to block shots as that one's well over the line. Set off the end boards, off the glass in front, and no one was able to capitalize. Now across here for Owen Lawson. Lawson took a shot on net, and that one off the left pad of Elijah Jones. Negated that scoring chance. Now here they come again. Once again, Morrison waits. Across feed. Shot. Score! That one taken across from Owen Lawson. The Wolverines get back on top, or within one. Here's Gunnar Birmingham with another.
So Birmingham snapping that shot from the right circle, beat Elijah Jones low, and it sounded like it went off the back bar. 51 seconds remaining in that right chuck power play. So 2 power play goals here tonight, one for either team, and the difference is an even strength Porzondik goal.
It's Gunnar Birmingham's 3rd goal of the season, putting him at 9 points on the season. Officially in the scoring categories, top 6 on this team. And it results in a power play goal for the Wolverines, their first of this weekend series. We talked about they went 0 for 3 last night. Central has been dominant on their penalty kill. That is now their 7th only allowed this season through their first 10 games. Now here's Braden Keel working with it off the face-off draw. That one finally won by the Chips. Now here's Nathan Bottles through center working with Andrew Porzondik. He'll turn wide with it. Once again in front for Porzondik, and he tried to finish that one off for his 3rd and to complete the hat trick in this first period, but none coming. That one whacked around by a couple of players, and that one goes up into the awnings here of Martin Ice Arena, which will cause a whistle. The small roof that is this confines of this arena tends to lose pucks more than once after players whack away at it, and with high glass and high nets, it causes some whistles. So digging in for the draw will be Isaac Gibbs, and he lost that one. The Wolverines take it back over their own end, but they turned it over quickly at the blue line. Keel sent one off the half wall, and nobody home to retrieve it. Chapono works up the left wing with it. Across for a shot attempt, and that one negated off a body. Coming in back with it was Camara to negate Chapono's shot attempt, and he sends it back out to center for Isaac Gibbs. He'll go across the way for Keel. Keel will dump this one in deep, rims around the end boards, and it comes to Chapono, where he's met up with a pair of 19s, Chapono and Gibbs. They fight away with it. Here's Jay Nadu to pick it up on the other side, sending it out of the zone, attempted there by Nicholas Gordy, and he's not able to do it. Now Central keeping on the pressure. Jay Nadu scores! Top of the right wing, Jay Nadu. His 2nd goal of this weekend series puts CMU back up by 2.
Jay Nadu, a seeing eye shot from the right wing circle. Again, low blocker. We've seen so many goals in that go past netminders in this series. Low blocker, and a good shot there by Jay Nadu. Just beats Luke Roberts cleanly, and he's slightly off his angle a little bit to the right post, but Nadu was nonetheless able to beat him and restore that Central Michigan 2-goal lead.
Jay Nadu, the junior from Novi, Michigan, with his 6th goal of the season through 10 games. He had goals this year against Lake Superior State, Cleary, Ferris State, and now the Wolverines. He's played well in that second line, moving up top there with a couple of players, and he's been top 3 in scoring during his time at Novi High School. And one of the players now coming into his own, regaining confidence. And Reagan, we talked about how Nadu, the last 4 contests before this series, was kind of on a cold streak. He only had 2 assists in that span, but with a goal last night and now tonight, 2 in these last 2, that's pretty good.
Indeed, he's for Jay Nadu, that's now 7 goals on the campaign. He's, like Devin said, he was a little bit hot, and here's a penalty coming up on Michigan-Flint, a hooking penalty. I think going to either be on Appleberg or Morrison. Yeah, it's either, I believe it's going to be on Morrison here.
Referees gather at center, and it will be Morrison going to the box for 2 minutes with 17 seconds left in this first period. Central Michigan on top 3-1 after Andrew Porzondik scored on the power play to start us off. Scored once again from the slot area to put them up 2-0. And then evening it up, just putting it within 1, was Gunnar Birmingham. Take them back within 1, and then Central storm back with Jay Nadu's most recent goal. It's still loose in front. A couple of players whack away at it. Connor Morgan was trying to pick up the loose change, and he couldn't. Right pad, save made by Luke Roberts, and it's still loose. Central Michigan pressuring on this power play with 1 second left, and that will do it for first period of play. So CMU, as they did last night, opens the scoring up with 3 goals in the first period. They only allow 1 to Gunnar Birmingham's power play goal. But CMU, as they did once again, coming out quickly in this series. But stay tuned. First intermission report. We're coming up next with Reagan Cleaves to recap everything from that first period and highlight some out-of-town scoreboards and get you ready for second period. Stay tuned with us. You're watching Central Michigan Hockey here on CCHN.
And I bring you back here inside the broadcast booth for intermission number 1. Reagan Cleaves here at Martin Ice Arena as we have finished with the first 20 minutes of play. And after the first, CMU leads 3-1 over the Michigan-Flint Wolverines. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the first intermission report presented by Optum X Sports. Central Michigan took a little while to get going, as did the Michigan-Flint Wolverines, but CMU got things going with Andrew Porzondik scoring his first of the night and fourth in 3 games as he scored at 10-19 with an assist going to Rychuk on the power play. So Central Michigan's power play getting right back in it. They were off for a little bit last game. They came back and scored the first goal of the game here tonight. Porzondik then extended the Central Michigan lead to 2-0 at 16:20 of the first period before Birmingham brought Michigan-Flint back within 1 at 17:51. Lawson and Zeiter getting the assists on the power play with Ben Rychuk in the box. So both power plays trading goals in this one. It was a 1-goal game with 17:51 gone in the period. But we were not done yet as Jay Nadeau would put Central Michigan up 3-1 from the slot at 18:52. Central Michigan's third of the first period sends them into the dressing rooms with a 2-goal lead here at Martin Ice Arena. Taking a look at the power play numbers for both these two teams, Central Michigan is 1 for 1 on the power play. They've got 1 minute and 43 remaining on a Morrison penalty that they'll have to start the second period, so that power play will carry over into period number 2, and that number will count for period number 2. So CMU 1 for 1 on the power play, as was Michigan-Flint 1 for 1 in that opening period. Their lone goal, Birmingham's coming on the power play. A quick look at the out-of-town scoreboard. The Grand Rapids Griffins in action tonight against the Rockford Ice Hogs at the BMO Harris Bank Center. They are just getting underway out in Rockford, Illinois. You can listen to that game on 106.9 FM, 1300 AM, Wood Radio down in Grand Rapids, or on iHeartRadio. The Saginaw Spirit in action tonight against the Oshawa, or in action tomorrow, against the Oshawa Generals. You can watch that game, or listen to that game, on WSGW out in Saginaw. We've also got the Detroit Red Wings in action today, beating the New York Islanders 3-0, and they've had a good start to the season, and it's another promising win over a decent New York Islanders team. That'll do it for our first intermission report. Back with more in a moment. Second period coming your way next, live from Martin Ice Arena. CMU up 3-1 after 20 minutes. You're watching CMU Club Hockey on CCHN.
Back with you inside Martin Ice Arena ahead of second period action. Central Michigan ahead 3-1 in this tilt over Michigan-Flint. Won 6-5 last night in overtime. Scored 3 goals in the first period, and they matched that effort once again here tonight. And you know, Reagan, we talked about how the first period jump has been better for Central Michigan as of late, in this series particularly. But they did allow 4 goals in that second period last night that really hurt them, especially down the stretch. They need to play better, especially because the Wolverines, you know, are going to be hunting for more.
Yeah, Central Michigan has had a problem here with holding leads this season against competent teams. They obviously allowed 4 goals in the second period alone last night against the same U of M Flint squad as the puck is dropped and we're underway. But they really need to keep their head up, and you saw last night Central Michigan get complacent with that 3-goal lead they had just 2 minutes into period 2, and that allowed Michigan-Flint to get back in it. They played a little bit slower. They allowed Michigan-Flint to get back in it. And on this power play, CMU looking to extend their lead to 3.
Power play continuing over Parker Morrison's penalty, assessed with 7 seconds left in that first period. And now for CMU with another power play chance. They already have one tonight with Andrew Porzonik, who opened up the scoring slate. Michigan-Flint answered back with the power play goal of their own from Gunnar Birmingham late. And that's where we stand. Another goal again, Porzonik with 2 tonight on hat trick alert. And he's had a really, really strong string of events, Reagan, really solidifying himself as the scoring leader on this team along with Isaac Gibbs.
Yeah, Isaac Gibbs in a tight battle for that goal-scoring lead. Porzonik's now deadlocked with the number 19 sophomore for CMU at 10 goals apiece.
So 30 seconds left in this power play. Quick turnover at the blue line from Camara. Moving in there was Dakota Lehman to take it away, and CMU has to go back and retreat, kill off more time in their power play. 20 seconds to go.
You know what, despite the fact that the Camara gave that puck away at the defensive blue line, great job by him to get back and on the back check work with and beat the forward for Michigan-Flint on the back check.
Back blue line shot from Isaac Gibbs taken there on the chest protector of Roberts, and now that's a couple times we've seen Gibbs working up high trying to get a shot on front. You almost think about the rebound control, how we saw last night from Ryan Rogers, a couple of loose pucks in front. I was talking with a fan in the intermission report about how the rebounds were a problem for Michigan-Flint tonight. Luke Roberts has swallowed up a lot of pucks that looked like they could have gone loose for him.
Yeah, and we saw that last night, rebound control being an issue for both goaltenders until the final half.
Devin Sarah and Reagan Cleves for this second game weekend series from Martin Ice Arena. This broadcast CCHN presented by CMHIceHockey.com. The second game of this weekend series. As we mentioned, CMU had a wacky game from Crystal Fieldhouse in Burton, Michigan last night. Ended a 6-5 overtime tilt to CMU, in which they scored 3 in the first, scored 1 more in the second from Isaac Gibbs' beautiful Trevor Zegras-style goal, and then Michigan scored 3 unanswered from Josh Appelberg to tie it up. Gave himself a hat trick in that one, and that third period will be wild as well.
Flint back in the power play here with Clements to the box. 2 minutes for a trip. They're 1-for-1 on the night.
Michigan-Flint back on it. A quick shot from the top of the left circle taken there by Owen Lawson, the defenseman, and it rings off the end board glass and comes back to Justin Zeitler on their own end. Chasing him on the play was Nathan Bottles, and it goes back to Charlie Hayesblade. He'll whack this one across the end boards, and it comes back now reaming to the half wall. Michigan-Flint setting up their power play, sends one in front and nobody home to take up the loose change. Here comes Charlie Hayes the other way, or rather Andrew Porzonik with Bottles, sends it in front for Bottles, shot, backhander, what a save! How did that one stay out? Bottles had him beat, he had Roberts all the way onto his left back, and he couldn't finish the play. My goodness.
What a save by Luke Roberts. Nathan Bottles had him down and out, and Roberts just stuck out the left glove and kept that puck, scraped it off the goal line, Devin. What a save. The Michigan-Flint netminder.
Looking for only their second-hand or shorthanded goal this season. They had one a couple of games ago, not on my record, but just off memory bank. That's not something we see often from this CMU group, who is a great penalty kill unit. just because they're a stay-at-home group, not necessarily known for their scoring, but Nathan Bottles trying to finish the job there with Porzondnik, and boy, that duo has really shined as of late. And in a time where CMU really hasn't played their best hockey, especially dropping 4 straight before last night's overtime victory.
Indeed, that group has been part of what CMU has relied on, especially as of late.
Still 47 seconds to go in Michigan-Flint's second power play of the night. Grayson McKenzie tried to move it in, reamed it around for Chapono, and he couldn't handle the blue line, so he has to go back and retreat. Trailing the play is Isaac Gibbs. He'll send it up to the bench for Ryan Hayden. Hayden will send this one off a body. That was Siraki, and he'll dump this one the length of the ice. And Central Michigan will once again reset to their own end, where Luke Roberts is there to pick it up. Andrew Chapono, the captain, second year for the Michigan-Flint Wolverines. He's played well for them as a defenseman, albeit stay at home. And Keelan Baker turned the puck over shorthanded. 12 seconds to go. Killing off time, a shot, and that one turned a stick away from Josh Appleberg, who lost it, picked it up, and now 1 versus 4. Keelan Baker, what a job by him to kill off the rest of the power play. It ends, and Brandon Clements will get back on the ice.
Great penalty killing effort there by the Central Michigan captain, not only generating that turnover in neutral ice, but once the rush faltered for CMU, he was able to get down and work that puck and keep that puck along the boards to pin it and kill off time for CMU.
Appleberg cleared the zone. It went off a body and into his own bench. That'll cause the faceoff to come back in front of that area. 15:50 to go in the second period. Devin Serra joined alongside Reagan Cleaves in this second period action of this second game. Central Michigan taking on Flint, who they've dominated their season series against each other. 12-4 all-time. CMU leads this series. They've won the last 6, and most of those in dominating fashion. Last night's contest being the closest of the previous 6. So for the Wolverines, who have still down only by 2 goals in this one, looking for some momentum, and there's a shot for the blue line taken by Owen Lawson. He got a good wind-up on that. Takes a second try. Clapper, it's still loose in front, and the loose change came over there to Charlie Hayes, who makes no doubt about it, and he'll send him back to retreat.
Jay Nadeau on the forecheck here for CMU. Pins Lawson up against the boards, but that's something that both these two clubs do very well, is that forecheck on 5-on-5. They get players up the ice to pressure the defense on the breakout, and it's generated some chances both ways in this series.
Through center, Isaac Gibbs tried to twirl it around to the blue line, and it will trickle too far there, intended for Keelan Baker to come back the other way as the icing called. So a key faceoff coming up here. Reagan, it's a dead horse at this point, but we've talked about how the faceoff circle struggled. They were a little bit better in that first period. Notably, Isaac Gibbs was digging in for them.
Indeed, Isaac Gibbs mainly plays winger, hasn't played a ton of center this season, but he has been able to win a couple of draws for Central Michigan, and now it's Connor Morgan's job.
Against Dakota Lehman. They'll wait for it, give the whistle. Looks like Andrew Porzondnik was the guilty party entering the circle too close, and Wolverines win that circle unofficially again as Lehman dug in against the freshman Morgan. 15 minutes left in this second period. Central Michigan on top 3-1 after Andrew Porzondnik had a power play goal and 5-on-5 for 2 on the night, and Jay Nadeau had a beauty from the right circle to put him up 3-0, and Wolverines answered, making it 3-1 off of Gunnar Birmingham.
Tell you what, that's great work by Connor Morgan to stifle that Michigan-Flint breakout there, and that leads to a CMU possession.
Andrew Porzondnik back up top for Christopher Martin. Takes a shot on net. It's still loose in front, and that was Nathan Bottles. Got knocked down on the play from his knees, tried to look behind and whack at it, and Roberts dived on it on his glove to make the stop and cause the whistle.
Now we take a look at this date in Central Michigan Chippewas history, Devin, and a bit of an interesting one. Central Michigan back in 2016 took on the Division II Lake Superior State Lakers here at what was then known as Isabella County Events Center, and CMU dominated the Division II squad of Lake State 11-1. CMU scored the first 7 goals in that game and continue the dominance after Lake State's lone goal. Brennan Martin, Zach Carr, Nathan Allgaier all had 2 goals, while Ryan Tyre had 3 assists.
And that tells you about Central Michigan's history as a program, and celebrating their 10th year anniversary this season. And they've had a couple of good times, looking at a number of alumni coming back. And we've seen on our social media Joe Lazier doing a great job managing that site and highlighting some of the old jerseys that CMU's had. No throwbacks this year, but boy, we've had some beauties over the years. Now there's a shot from Siraki. Really, it wasn't more of a shot, just negated puck that was sweeping past 2 defenders and Siraki, and Roberts scoops that up as Siraki pushed those defenders all the way back. And, Reagan celebrating 10 years and talking about some notable memories for CMU. They've been to nationals the last 3 straight years, and in 2020, you and I were talking about the ride back from Flint, the 2020 year in particular, where notable alumni shot scored. Oh my goodness. Was that Nadu from a sharp angle? Made that one in, and CMU is on top 4-1.
Well, Keelan Baker threw that puck out in front from the left wing corner.
Oh my.
And Jay Nadu, right out in front, was there to deflect it. It just went off his skate and in. And with 6:14 gone here in period 2, we're going to see a goaltending changes. Ryan Rogers is going to come in for Luke Roberts.
Goaltending change there, as it looks like head coach Joseph Berry electing to pull the goaltender for Rogers, who played exceptional last night. And boy, Reagan, I'll tell you what, the wacky goals continue. We saw the first 2 of last night's contest, a little fluky from Sean Bengals, and that one Keelan Baker just sends in front for Nadu, who picks up his second of the game here tonight. Now officially 7 goals on the season, and continues his stretch of dominance, and now 3 goals in his last 2 games. That's pretty impressive from the junior.
And you know what? This is an interesting decision by Flint's coaching staff. I don't think Roberts had been playing particularly bad. It's only his 4th goal of the night, and it had just been some fluky bounces, and it was just interesting to see Michigan-Flint pull their netminder, and they do take the timeout here to give Ryan Rogers some time to stretch out and get limber here as he comes in with 13:46 to go in the second.
I correct myself. Head coach of the Wolverines, Nick Karstens, assisted by Joe Barry and Tom Garavaglia, who was actually himself, Tom, a former team founder, and their trainer, Mike Brewell, all electing to pull Roberts early. And I agree with you, Reagan. A little strange off of, honestly, a hot bounce that took a wild deflection off of Nadu and in. And it puts CMU up by 3 now. And, you look at goaltending situations like that. I mean, I thought for a fact that Roberts actually played well up to this point, but nonetheless, Rogers is a good goaltender in his own. That one's sent in by Nadu, who was looking to go across from it. Shot from a sharp angle by Hayes now. And Rogers makes his first nice save of the game coming in and replacement for Roberts.
Yeah, good confidence save there for Rogers coming in. His first save of the game. And he's played a spectacular game last night, Devin. Although he gave up a couple of wonky goals out in front, none of them were really his fault. And he was just beat on a good redirection out in front by the Chippewas in overtime, with Sam Camara redirecting that Baker shot.
Loose in front. Porzanic took the one-timer. That went up into the netting, and that puck is gloved out of the air. Diving is Rogers. Look, that faceoff was loose in front. It looked like it went off the end boards, and sending it in front there was Bottles trying to find Porzanic, and he just couldn't get the puck to the net after it was deflected away up into the air. But nonetheless, dinging once again is Bottles. Lost the draw officially, but CMU will keep the zone off the shoulder blade of Porzanic. Reams around the boards. It'll finally come off the glass end posts and met up there with Andrew Porzanic. Up top for Christopher Martin. Takes a shot. That one wide. Redirected in front. Shot. They score! Connor Morgan picks up the loose change from Christopher Martin. And CMU up by 4, 5-1.
You know what, Devin? This is what we expect from this Chippewa team. A tough game last night for the Chippewas, but they've been pouring it on here against Michigan-Flint. This is showing kind of what we saw in the second game last year. Pretty even through the first period, and then Central Michigan opening up the scoring in the latter half of this game. That's a couple of quick consecutive goals for the Chippewas.
It's Connor Morgan's 5th of the season, the freshman from Waterford, Michigan, unofficially assisted by Christopher Martin, who will pick up another point on his tally. And boy, for a freshman that came into this year from Lake St. Mary High School, points at the end of his last 10, didn't really expect him to be as good of a contributor as he has been, but he's been phenomenal from his first start to his first 10 as a Chippewa. and leading all rookies on the team in scoring, and already doubled his numbers in less than a third of games from his time at Lake St. Mary's. So Connor Morgan gets his tally and puts CMU up once again 5-1 on this one. 12:24 to go in this second period. And, you know, for the Wolverines, there really hasn't been a lot of breakdown defensively. It's more just been the Chippewas have got a lucky bounce here and there. It's led to pucks being in front, and with a goaltender change, you know, that's kind of startled things for them.
Yeah, and on that most recent Central Michigan goal, that's another fluky bounce that beats Ryan Rogers. That one came off the initial shot from the slot. He made the save. It went into the left corner, and it was Connor Morgan who picked up that puck and threw it kind of into the crease. It went off of Rogers and in. And so that's not necessarily a kind of defensive breakdown for Michigan-Flint, but CMU taking advantage of those opportunities and just throwing pucks on net, and it's working.
CMU matching already what their goal total was in regulation last night. As we mentioned, a 6-5 tilt over Flint last night. The last time they were able to do that was before the Florida Gulf Coast series, when they went up against the Cleary Cougars, put up 6 on them. So CMU putting up a number of goals tonight from a couple of different key forwards. Andrew Porzonic with 2, Jay Nady with 2, and now Connor Morgan with 1. As that shot from the top of the left circle by Chapono is easily gloved by Elijah Jones. And so that means this one will give a whistle. Another face-off opportunity. And now for CMU, Reagan, a little bit more comfortability. We talked about it, though, how they can't get complacent up big in this hockey game. And it's something head coach Tyler Cataline and even the forward coach Austin Whaley stressed.
Yeah, this is something that Central Michigan has struggled with all year, is keeping the momentum in big leads. They managed to do it against Lake Superior State as well as Ferris State in Game 1, but that's something the last couple of weeks they've struggled with, allowing 3 unanswered goals against Ferris State for that eventual, 4 unanswered goals against Ferris State, and then last night allowing 4 goals in the second period, and so far CMU up 5-1 has done a good job of responding to those Michigan-Flint goals.
Josh Appleberg has not found himself on the scoring sheet yet, the notable forward leader in goals for the team. You know, with a quiet night so far, Reagan, you know, this second period is where he made his money with 3. And now a couple of players on CMU side, the opposite script, looking at a hat trick close to it. It looks like we're going to have a penalty coming up here.
Keelan Baker going to go off for a roughing called by the back official. So that was right out in front of the net. So Baker's going to go to the box at 8:25. Central Michigan has killed off both of the Flint power plays thus far. One of the 2 Flint power plays thus far. Let's see if they can do it again here.
It'll be Sam Camara, along with Nathan Bottles and Christopher Martin and Connor Morgan. They allowed their first power play goal since Notre Dame earlier ago after Gunnar Birmingham took a wrister from the right circle. Look out, quick turnover. Connor Morgan's got a one-on-one. He's got help with Nathan Bottles moving up in the slot area. Takes the loose change, goes backhand shot, and that one just wide after the left post was moved from Ryan Rogers, and Bottles still down on the ice, caught up in the stick of the Michigan defender, Owen Lawson. But turnover quickly at neutral ice sends Connor Morgan on the races. They had Bottles with help, just couldn't finish the loose change.
They're going to send off Bottles as well? I really don't get that. Bottles gets tied up with Lawson in front of the net. Lawson throws him to the ground after hooking the snot out of him from behind.
Neither of them are happy about it.
Bottles is going to the box. I do not get that, Devin.
So we'll have 4 on 3, including the incoincidentals, as well as the penalty assessed for roughing to Keelan Baker. And this will open up the ice even more for Michigan-Flint, who find themselves down 4 in this hockey game. They were down by 3 late in that first period. They came back to tie it after Isaac Gibbs scored the single-handed Zegras goal, we're calling it, from Josh Appleberg. And they're actually going to send him out on the ice as well, along with the personnel staff for the Wolverines, Justin Zeitler, Gunnar Birmingham, who had the power play goal earlier tonight. Appleberg will be the one to dig in. And we're going to see a couple of things here. The referee still trying to assess their scoring sheet, and CMU assessing their personnel. They're going to send Morgan and Porzo off the ice. and elect to put Gibbs, Martin, and Nadu out there. Kamara.
So it's going to stay a 5-on-4 here with Bottles and Lawson getting coincidental minors.
So a little bit less open ice for Michigan to work with. They're going to dig it in their own zone. Jay Nadu's going to take the draw with 11:20 to go. Isaac Gibbs at the wing spot, and this Michigan-Flint team has been able to score, as we mentioned earlier, on the power play. But caught in their own zone, CMU, and they're still talking about it. It's going to go back to their own bench. And I mean, Reagan, in a tilt like this, as we mentioned, look, it's not complacency time because they did come back from a 3-goal deficit last night where a lot of fluky goals happened off bad breaks at center ice and a couple of bad balances. I mean, this Wolverine team looked a lot faster, especially than they did last year.
Yeah, and part of that helps their bench is a lot more full than it was last year. They had trouble getting players to sign up for their roster and to try out, so getting them back, getting a historically decent Michigan-Flint team back to their former prowess and starting 6-3-1. It's a good sign of where this program is heading for Michigan-Flint.
A long delay for the coincidental minors, assessed to Lawson, and
they've been trying to work out some time, some score clock issues. They're having trouble because they initially put the Bottles and Lawson penalties up, and so they're waiting on setting the time for the Baker penalty back to what it was at about 25 seconds.
Folks, if you couldn't tell, Reagan Cleese is actually a professional referee of his own for a couple of men's leagues here in the Martin Ice Arena, and played an umpire role this summer for minor league baseball or little league baseball. And so, Reagan, you would know better than anybody, as a referee, how difficult of a situation is it for linesmen? Pretty solid crew we have here tonight. But assessing penalties like this and the timing, what is the major issue they're looking at?
It's more just a matter of whether it's 5-on-4 or not. Typically, I believe in the ACHA, it is if the penalty happens during the play, and if the penalties happen at the same time, you just make them coincidentals, whereas if it happens after the play or one's in retaliation to the other, you take both the guys off.
Look out, loose puck in front, blocked off a body. That one wraparound tried by Appleberg, and he couldn't find a man to bring it home on the back doorstep. Now back up top there for Zeitler. Zeitler will send it across for Gunner Birmingham. Has a goal earlier tonight on the power play. Michigan-Flint officially on their second of the night. And look out, loose change in front, third, and that one was taken by Owen Morrison, trying to go forehand, backhand. He couldn't find enough time and space to clear up the gap, and it goes back down all the way to negate this one.
1 minute to go in the power play for Michigan-Flint. Connor Morgan, fan of the dump in.
Isaac Gibbs take this puck away on a 1-on-3 opportunity from the slot. He turned around the puck from Andrew Chapono and turned it over again. Great work from the sophomore Isaac Gibbs to work on the captain for Michigan-Flint. Gets it back to Charlie Hayes, and they kill more time on this power play advantage.
What great work there by Isaac Gibbs as he goes off the change, and on comes Andrew Porzondik.
Porzondik sneaks one man, gets a second. He waits for help, gets it back to the blue line for his freshman Morgan, who will dump this one and ream it around the boards. The cycle for Porzondik. They kill off more time. Short-handed right here, Reagan, and they're doing a phenomenal job. Porzondik scores! Hat trick for Andrew Porzondik! Wraparound try, and he capitalized on it. What a goal!
Somehow that, folks, was not a Central Michigan power play. That was a short-handed goal for CMU. What effort in the offensive end. Isaac Gibbs started it on that rush on the inside, but he was able to keep the puck at the blue line, and then that leads to that Andrew Porzondik goal, and they're up now 6-1.
And what work by Connor Morgan to assist with that, cycling the puck well down low to Porzondik, and he makes no mistake about it, short-handed for the Chippewas. Andrew Porzondik, the senior, gets another tally, now 11 on the year, and that gives him the team lead in goals over Isaac Gibbs. And Reagan now a player that has a ton of points in his last 3 contests, and once again finished that one shorthanded. So a backbreaker for the Wolverines, who elected the goaltender change early in the second period. Luke Roberts was pulled after a very funky goal that was shot from a sharp angle by Keelan Baker, and then it went off the blade, or the skate of Jay Nadeau and in the net. So a couple of weird goals now, and that one honestly was just the individual effort by Porzanic to get it past Rogers.
And you know what, Evan, this is what we've been waiting for out of Andrew Porzanic. The junior for Central Michigan is already 1 goal short of his year-long total last season. He had 12 goals and 13 assists for 25 points in just under 30 games. He has been electric the last couple of games for CMU, 2 hat-tricks in the last 4 games, and he has just been phenomenal for CMU as of late.
Quickly
now look
joining
out.
the rush on there is Ben Rychek with Andrew Siraki off the face-off draw, and they got it all the way deep to Flint's zone where they corralled with it. Michigan has to go back and trail with it. The most points in a game was scored by Porzanic on October 29th against Notre Dame, where he had 5, including the goal totals for that weekend. And you talk about a player, like you said, Reagan, that's coming into his own as a offensive, not just a finisher, but really did everything this weekend and last. Defensively, offensively. And look out, this one's loose in the slot. They score! Julian Johnson, what a feed from Ben Rychuk. Central up big.
Yeah, Ben Rychuk stepped away from a check at the blue line on the near side that came from Foster Finn. He was able to sidestep that check and get it to Johnson in the slot. He initially fanned on the initial forehand shot, but he worked it to his backhand, and from the low slot was able to roof it over the glove of Rogers. It's 7-1 CMU at 11:07.
The junior from Woodhaven, Michigan, with his 3rd tally of the year. He transferred from Adrian College's Division II squad last season at the midpoint mark for the Chips. Scored his first goal as a Chippewa against Florida Gulf Coast last year in Estero. And his only other goal was against Notre Dame and Cleary, which was back on October 8th. So now here's Jay Nadeau, who dekes one defender, looking for the hat trick on the backhand. And Rogers stepped him on the short side. And man, are they buzzing right now in this second period.
Yeah, ever since that Nadeau goal 6-14 in, Central Michigan has just put the pedal to the metal. They have just been dominating Michigan-Flint in the offensive end. And for CMU, this is something that they were kind of looking forward to coming into this series. A game where they could kind of relax and regroup, especially from a rough 5-game stand where they weren't as productive as they would have hoped to be, as the Wolverines clear this down the ice. A possibility for icing, but it's going to be waved off. And this is a game that Central Michigan desperately needs. They've played a couple of tough opponents in Florida Gulf Coast and Ferris State, and a Ferris State game that they should have had. And similar situation to this, they had a 3-goal lead, and they were able, unlike against Ferris State here tonight, to fend off that pressure from Michigan-Flint and make it a bigger lead. And right now they're sitting pretty at a 6-goal lead.
Icing called back on the other side as with Chapono coming back to retrieve it. And now Reagan, Central Michigan, for the second time this season, eclipses 7 goals with still 7:52 left to play in the second. They won big, 13-2 against Lake Superior State all the way back on September the 30th. Their closest win was at Cleary University, a 6-1 notch on November 8th. And now against these Wolverines, who played them tough last night, Reagan, are dominating their presence. And as you mentioned, a team that desperately needs it after a couple of tough losses to good opponents. Look out, it's loose in front, just missed by Tyler Martin, the transfer from Oakland, looking for his first. Oh my, he had that one at point blank.
Tyler Martin, who spent the last couple of seasons away from hockey and transferred from Oakland to here, he put that right through the crease. And that's a disappointing goal. You saw the bench explode, and then just everybody hanging their heads like, come on, man. It's so close.
We haven't seen a lot of action from this fourth line. Andrew Miller, Tyler Martin, and Hayden Flynn, who really have combined to kind of just shuffle around as the extra forwards for this Central Michigan squad. And Tyler Martin getting some playing time. Good to see him with the offensive chance right there. Very close on the back doorstep, but they'll send the top group back out. Nathan Bottles, Charlie Hayes, Connor Morgan, along with Christopher Martin to dig in for this draw.
Michigan-Flint back on the power play here as Clements was sent off. He was pleading his case all the way to the penalty box. It didn't work. 7:07 to go here in period 2.
Michigan-Flint with their 4th power play of the night. They are 1 for 3 so far after Gunnar Birmingham had a goal to open up their scoring in the first period after CMU put 2 up on them. And now down big in this one. They desperately need something to get some momentum here. That's in front there. Puck trickled around a while for the slot area. Not able to finish was Owen Morrison. Back in the play up to the blue line. Up top there, shot on net. Save with the left pad of Elijah Jones. And Justin Zeitler is not able to get back on it. Now short-handed once again. Here's Nathan Bottles. Took a floater, saucer from Connor Morgan. And now in the Wolverine corner, they fight for it and dig it. 1 against 2. Nathan Bottles killing off more time on this power play advantage. Not able to see the time as it was not posted, but a good effort by the transfer to make some stuff happen on this penalty kill group. That's really been phenomenal. Now, once again, here's Michigan. Owen Morrison goes forehand back into the right slot and right into the glove of Elijah Jones, who makes the easy stop with 6:13 to go in the second.
Clemens is going to be out of the box at 5:15, Devin, for CMU. So they've got a minute and 58 seconds left in there. There we go. They have it up. Clemens, 58 seconds left in the man advantage. But Devin, this has been a great series for CMU. They needed a couple of wins after that rough October in the second half, losing 3-1 at home, losing 2 straight games at home, Devin, for the first time in a long time. Something they haven't done. They've been very good here at Martin Ice Arena.
Shot off the right pad of Ryan Hayden to Elijah Jones, and they cycle the puck well. A pretty good offensive chance here for the Wolverines. A blocked shot in front, blocked by Austin Ritter, who's had a couple of rough goals allowed on him the last couple of nights. Good to see him get a deflection. And this one trickles all the way back to Rogers, who has to scoop it up. Chapono, with 18 seconds left in their power play, their 4th of the night, will work with it behind the net. He's got his wingers up there, Hayden Rose and Grayson McKenzie, to work in with it. They trickle over the left wing circle towards the middle. They send it off, and it's an offside called on Grayson McKenzie, who was too fast for the streaking Hayden Rose. So that faceoff will come back close to center. 6 seconds to go in their power play.
The broadcast of today's game is a copyrighted presentation of the American Collegiate Hockey Association, the CMU Club Hockey Network, and Moorehall Television. No reproduction, retransmission, or other distributions of the descriptions or accounts of this game may take place without the express written consent of the ACHA, CCHN, and MHTV.
CMU and U of M Flint playing their first interdivision games of the season. Officially tonight, they were the only squads left not to play an interdivision game. And before tonight, it looked like this. Lawrence Tech on top with 3 wins and 1 tie, 7 points. Saginaw Valley State with 2 wins. That puts them good enough for 4 points. And Michigan in third with just 1 point after a loss and a tie. Coming earlier this year, Oakland 0-2 on the year in division play, and Adrian 0-2 as well on this side of the division, the East Michigan Collegiate Hockey Conference. And Reagan, this is a division that really has had a lot of shuffling around. Central Michigan was the favored team to win the division last year heading into the tournament, and that ended up not being the case as Lawrence Tech was the one heading into the tournament play with that seed at the top. And Saginaw Valley State now is an interesting one because they are off to one of their best starts as a team in their history. Already 2 wins in division play, and they're looking for more as they go in now into division play next week against Central Michigan.
Exactly. Saginaw Valley State beat the reigning national champions Hope, and for some reason ranked 17th.
Bottles off the post. That one was a dangerous chance on the glove side. Sorry, but as you were saying, I mean, Saginaw Valley off to one of their best starts. They took down the mighty Hope Dutchman, handing them their first loss in a year and a half.
And if Central Michigan can hold on to this 6-goal lead, which presumably without a collapse of epic proportions they can, you've got an epic battle next weekend between Saginaw Valley State and Central Michigan, who will be going into that series deadlocked for second place in the MCHC East.
Charlie Hayes with a clapper from the top of the left circle. Comes a rebound for Christopher Martin. Off the top iron, the same spot that Nathan Bottle shot from. And that one is not in the net as it went off the post and back into the glove of Rogers. Wow, 2 dangerous chances for CMU to go up top by 7, but none coming. It stays a 7-1 hockey game, and boy, oh boy, Reagan, they love to shoot from that point-blank range and put it off the iron, don't they?
Indeed, CMU, especially Nathan Bottles and Christopher Martin, shaking their head after that. So close to making this an 8-1 game, both of them, but Unable to get it done. Isaac Gibbs controls off the faceoff.
Nice face-off win. That one came in front, and Rychuk just deflected it wide. Rogers is down. He fell down to his crease on his own as he was getting off the play from his butterfly, but he gets back up in time for CMU to reset. And now Gibbs moves it across with Camara taking the shot in the glove, and that one is saved easily. CMU on the power play officially after the penalty assessed to Foster Finn on the board with 1:08 left, 4:19 left in this second period of play. Stay tuned, folks. I will have the intermission report coming up next on CCHN, highlighting all things for the second period that has opened the floodgates with 4 CMU goals, as well as taking a look at our ACHA out-of-town scoreboards. Here's Isaac Gibbs moving across from Camara. Camara, the freshman from St. Mary's High School, played with Connor Morgan for a number of years there and has played stout as a defenseman. Now back up top. Down low for Porzonik. They cycle the puck to Rychuk at the end boards. Across now the way for Connor Morgan. Up the wing to Isaac Gibbs. Back down low to the right circle. Sends one in front for Rychuk. Looking for his first of the year and couldn't capitalize and finish home. Now Camara moves back up top with it to reset. Connor Morgan across. Sends it for Porzonik. Just couldn't handle the pass. And now at the half wall it's controlled by Michigan-Flint and they'll send it out of the zone. Justin Zeitler shorthanded. He'll send it out for Josh Elberberg. Had the hat trick last night. Fanned on the shot right there after Isaac Gibbs was trailing the play well. And 3 players go tumbling down to the ice in the corner and allow CMU to continue the breakout. Now Connor Morgan over the line. Keeps it fair with Isaac Gibbs. Streaks through the middle as Porzonik was going off for a change and couldn't open the door. Andrew Siraki cleaned that one up and cycled it to Rychuk. Now Rychuk working into the corner. Knocked off the puck by Justin Zeitler. Fell to the ice but got it over the wing there for Connor Morgan to go back up top for Gibbs. Power play ending for the Chippewas. And now CMU, Nicholas Gordy out of the box for the Wolverines. Trails it up the play, up the boards, and Isaac Gibbs sends it up the wing for Connor Morgan. Now through middle on a 1-on-4. Here's Hayden Flynn off the end boards, and now they'll dump it in to get fresh bodies. Dangerous hit in front. Point blank shot attempt for Siraki, who couldn't handle it the first time, but had a chance to take a second one. Missed on the point blank, or rather was saved by Rogers at point blank range. Now in the corner working with it is Owen Morrison. He'll trickle it up, turned over, and Austin Ritter has it. Went off the blade of Hayden Flynn and trickled off the end board back up top now. 5-on-5 strength once again. Austin Ritter moves to the top of the left circle, takes a shot on net well wide over the left corner, and that one goes into the netting for a stop.
What a great period of offensive control for Central Michigan in the Michigan-Flint end. I think about minute and a half of zone time for the Chippewas, generating multiple opportunities in front. Andrew Siraki getting a couple of point-blank opportunities. Austin Ritter, that wrist shot from the left point. And guess what? CMU still has an opportunity to keep the puck in the offensive end as Johnson ties up his man off the draw.
And they're keeping it entertaining for a pretty packed Martin Ice Arena we have here tonight. A lot of alumni in attendance we talked about. Justin McComas, Brennan Martin. A lot of the parents and folks of both sides here to entertain as another shot's taken by Isaac Gibbs from a sharp angle, and that one went off the left pad of Rogers, who's had a lot of action this last 2.5 minutes. Austin Ritter up top for Christian Martin to continue the onslaught. Isaac Gibbs in front, and that one just tipped off the skate. Short side, trying to go and bring it home was Gibbs, and couldn't get it past the right shoulder of Rogers to negate that scoring chance. And boy, like you said, just pouring it on Flint right now. This is a dominating forecheck for the Chippewas. Whistled down there. Siraki moved in to force Rogers to stop it.
Yeah, great decision there by Ryan Rogers. Allow his team to change. They'd been hemmed in the defensive end for quite some time, and allows his team to get a breather, get changes, get some fresh set of legs on, and CMU will do that also, but it's been a dominating last 5 minutes of this period for CMU.
Face-off draw to the right circle. It'll be Connor Morgan to dig in. Gets his body low and nimble, but he lost the draw to the Wolverines, who have been the benefactor of the face-off this series. But even though so, they struggle in this game, down big 7-1 after 4 goals scored by a number of different Chippewas, with Julian Johnson getting on the board, Andrew Porzonik completing the hat trick tonight. Jay Nadu with 2 as well tonight, and the scoring onslaught looks to continue as CMU gets a minute left of their forecheck.
Oh, you got to be kidding me. Porzonik got decked from behind. Both the referees keep the arms down. Like that's a clear-cut check from behind.
Off the near side glass, Braden Keel gets stepped into at the blue line, and it forces the puck come back out to center. Porzonik has to reset with it, and that forces Sam Camara to work with it now. across tape to tape for Braden Keelp, who worked with it up the left wing side. Porzonik, one-touch pass to Bottles was too far for him, and Braden Keelp cleaned up the loose puck that was sent in deep to the zone. Now Connor Morgan streaks a couple of Wolverine forwards, pressuring hard in their own zone, and that's really been the difference, Reagan, is CMU has been pressuring on all facets of the ice. This looked like a lot what the second period was like for Michigan-Flint when they tied up the hockey game.
20 seconds to go here in period 2, and yeah, Devin, this has been a dominating second period and something that CMU really needed, especially after the collapse of the second period they had last night.
Here's Tyler Martin, had a good look earlier, trying to score his first of the year. Rims around to the end board. 7 seconds to go in this second period. Andrew Miller ties it up with a Wolverine forward at the end. Hayden Flynn gets his stick slashed out of him, and the referees don't call it. But nonetheless, that ends the period. So Central Michigan, after going up 3-1, dominates in this second period after a number of goals on the power play and at 5-on-5 strength. Put them up big. Stay tuned with us. I'll recap it all here on the Second Admission Report presented by CMHIceHockey.com and get you your ACHA out-of-town scoreboard. Stay with us. You're watching Central Michigan Hockey here on CCHN. Back with you inside Martin Ice Arena for this second intermission report presented by CMichIceHockey.com. Well, folks, the scoring onslaught continues. Central Michigan puts up 4 goals in the second period over the Michigan-Flint Wolverines in a contest that has now put Central Michigan with their second highest goal total of the season after they won 13-2 against Lake Superior State all the way back in September. Goals coming from Jay Nadeau early in the first period off of Keelan Baker. It was a wacky goal from a sharp angle that went off his skate blade for his second of the night. Jay Nadeau with now 3 goals in 2 games this weekend series. Connor Morgan scores another one from a great feed in front, and that completes another goal for him on the season, 5 unofficially. Andrew Porzondek completed the hat trick from a wraparound attempt at 6:09 of the period. And before that, we want to talk about going back to that 4th goal. Central Michigan, Jay Nadeau scored it. Michigan-Flint elected to pull the goaltender Luke Roberts for Ryan Rogers, who played last night with 42 of 47 saves on the night unofficially. Played phenomenal for them, but in this one, the scoring onslaught opened, and you wondered the coaching decision by Nick Karstens of the Wolverines bench to pull Roberts. It doesn't end up helping their team at all as they put in 4 after that, or 3 after that goal allowed now by Rogers, who came in to save the game. To finish off the scoring, Julian Johnson elected for his 3rd of the season after a great feed in front from Ben Rydchuk, who notches another assist coming back after he was absent from the Notre Dame series last weekend. So that's where we sit at this one. Penalties racked up for Nathan Bottles, Brandon Larson, Brendan Clements, and Finn for the Wolverines. So pretty stout period in favor of Central Michigan. Look, one that they needed desperately after a tough string of losses before last night's game, and even more so with a struggling 5-on-5 game that really hasn't produced the offense like they've wanted. It's come from a lot of different places tonight. Andrew Porzondek with the hat trick, Jay Nadeau with 2, as well as a cast of supporters to notch up the others. That's our recap of this first or second period. Our out-of-town scoreboards, we have a big update for you on this one, folks. We told you last night Ferris State played Florida Gulf Coast in Estero in a 6-0 tilt in favor of the Eagles. That is reversed tonight. Ferris State upsets the Eagles 3-2 unofficially in Estero after Ferris State played a couple of close games this year against Notre Dame, notably losing 6-5 to them. And they beat the Chippewas earlier this season after the CMU opened their season 4-1 against them. So the Bulldogs with the upset tonight. Florida Gulf Coast, look, folks, this is a year that anybody can beat anybody based on what we've seen from notable teams. Saginaw Valley State taking down Hope, which, by the way, in a game against Oakland University right now, notched at 0 after the first period. Upset alert for the Oakland Golden Grizzlies, who played well against notable teams Miami, Ohio, and Grand Valley State, losing in those games but playing close. It's a different year in the ACHA and one that's showing a lot for, as we just mentioned, Ferris State and Oakland University. That's all the out-of-town scoreboards we have. Central Michigan with a dominant second period. And we like to mention that Andrew Porzondek hat trick was completed shorthanded. Central Michigan with now a power play goal and a shorthanded goal here tonight. Their first in a long number of years, and we'll talk about that shorthanded goal and more coming next in the third period action. So stay with us. Central Michigan up big, 7-1 over Michigan-Flint. You're watching Central Michigan hockey here with Devin Sarah and Reagan Cleves on CCHN. Inside Martin Ice Arena had a third period action. Devin Sarah joined alongside Reagan Cleaves for the second of this weekend series. Central Michigan won overtime last night 6-5 over these Wolverines, and right now up big 7-1 the notch after 4 goals in the second period. Andrew Perzadne completes the hat trick shorthanded. And you know, Reagan, you talked about it before the break. This was a game CMU desperately needed. And I'll tell you what, those last 5 minutes, that was one of the most dominant forechecks we've seen from this group.
Yeah, they've been dominant on the forecheck all night. It's good to see Central Michigan finally get back in the groove that they lost in that 4-game losing stretch back in the latter half of October. And both last night and tonight, a much better hockey team than we saw in October. And it's good to see CMU make that bounce back. And look at this. Look who's back in net, Devin.
Luke Roberts, who was pulled after that fluky goal from Jay Nadeau that went off his skate from Keelan Baker from a sharp angle. And I mean, we thought about it was a controversial call to pull him after a goal that really wasn't his fault in my mind late in that second. But coming back in for Ryan Rogers, who's allowed 3 in his time in net. Like the goaltender change once again. And CMU right back where they left off on the forecheck again from the blue line. A long shot attempt from Austin Ritter set in. That one is corralled by a Wolverine defender, but they can't get it out of the zone. Great play at the blue line by Martin to keep it in, but this one's negated. It goes back down the length of the way for an icing call. And Reagan, we talked about in the break, a huge upset developing today. Ferris State 3-2 over Florida Gulf Coast. You know, that Bulldog team, when we first saw them in the season opener, they didn't look like anything special to us. The CMU just fired out of the gates, winning 4-1, but they came back and scored 3 unanswered to beat the Chippewas here on home ice. So, you know, it's 4 now. I mean, honestly, it's been a year where we said it, anybody can beat anybody, and we saw that as credited by Saginaw Valley's upset over Hope.
Exactly. This is a year that the ACHA seems a heck of a lot more evened out than it has in the past, especially in this North Division, or in what used to be the North Region, in Division 3, where the MCHC teams have been dominant in recent years in the ACHA, and this year they're having that division has evened out a lot more, and it's good to see different teams.
And, you know, what's notable about this side of the division, you know, it's been dominated by Central Michigan, the University of Michigan, and really Lawrence Tech the last 2 or 3 years or so, dating back to the COVID-shortened season. But, you know, you look at the west side of the division, Grand Valley State, Calvin University. You've also got Ferris State, Hope. Those are 4 teams that really have a legitimate shot come tournament time all the way in late March of 2023 that we could be looking at saying, could anybody have this division? I mean, it really is up in the air on the MCHC, and you know, this division has won unofficially 13 of the last 14 national championships.
Yeah, as we talked about, the MCHC and the North Region, back when Division 3 used to do regionals, this has been a dominant region in the ACHA, and it's anybody's game in the MCHC this season, and especially as we start to get into divisional games with Central Michigan hitting the start with Michigan-Flint this weekend, Saginaw Valley next weekend, and then Adrian the weekend after that. It should be a fun middle part of the season for CMU.
Nathan Bottle's shot blocked initially, got the second chance opportunity, but it never got through to Roberts, who came in after being replaced in the second, came back at the stop of the third, and we get a whistle here. And you know what's notable, Reagan? Grand Valley State won the Vesna Cup last season, upsetting Hope, gave them their only loss the entire season, including the postseason. And looks like Nathan Bottles and Daniel Coughlin are both going to be sent off here for coincidental minors.
Getting a coincidental, and I don't like the referees have been calling a lot of coincidentals tonight, and I haven't really agreed with, especially the ones that Nathan Bottles has gotten. He's been more on the receiving end of some hits and some takedowns, and he's been getting whistled off with them, but we'll remain 5-on-4, or we'll go 4-on-4 here.
This crew known as Central Michigan's official home crew with 4 officials here tonight completing it. We've seen a couple of times this year they've played with 3 bouncing around 4 officials. And this crew tonight has had kind of both ways in partiality, Reagan. You know, we've seen a couple of missed calls for Central Michigan, but in a game like this where it's a little bit irrelevant to the score, it's certainly one that rattles the feathers of both sides, I would say.
They've been a good crew all weekend. One of the officials transferring over from that game down in Burton last night, and they called a solid game. I don't necessarily disagree with any of their calls. It's more of a, maybe wouldn't have. Oh my goodness, Julian Johnson goes flying into the boards and flying into Morrison.
Look out, point blank opportunity for Michigan, and Justin Zeitler got that one, but it was off the right blocker of Elijah Jones with a nice save to open up the period. 6:55 to go, another try from the sharp angle. That one attempted there by Appleberg. Looking for a goal in this one. He had the hat trick last night, but has been quiet in this one so far. 1:06 to go for the 4-on-4 Incoincidentals. Back out on the ice, a new crew for CMU. It's Braden Keel, Sam Camara, as well as Keelan Baker to help out. And it's caught up and tied up where Ben Rychuk was met up with the puck, who has really had kind of a quiet night, Reagan. But, we talked about the assist of Julian Johnson last night. And, a player from Granville, the senior, who still looking for his first goal of the year, has really played solid, I'd say, offensively.
Indeed, and he was a physical presence that CMU missed in that in that Notre Dame series as he was at drill as part of the Army ROTC program here at Central Michigan University. So he's a physical presence missed for CMU, and it really showed in that first game against Notre Dame. They weren't as physical as they wanted to be, and you can't help but think if Rychuk had been in that game, how much more Central Michigan would have been able to take the physicality to Notre Dame.
Well, it definitely could have been a factor as CMU had a number of deflections in front that were picked up by Fighting Irish forwards that, created goals, and that, Ben Rychuk is one of those guys to pick up a lot of that loose change in front and deflect pucks away. And when you don't have a presence like that, it makes it difficult, especially for a goaltender that was struggling in that contest, which was Lauren Jones. And Elijah Jones came in after that, only allowed 4 in his effort, but, came back in game 2 and played a lot better. But point still stands. Central Michigan up top 7-1 in this one. Elijah Jones has played pretty solid. And we haven't talked enough about the young netminder who's only seen about 2 games of action this year. As look out, that one gets stood up at the red line. Isaac Gibbs and Gavin Harwood colliding.
Forearm to the face, and they don't call it. They're really letting them play here this afternoon.
That one scooped up after Nadu streaked hard to the net. Fans, be sure to stay with us the entire weekend. Tomorrow, Women's Division II action takes on Adrian College for a 1 p.m. puck drop slated time. Myself and Matt Ryder will be on the call for that one from the Arrington Ice Arena, where CMU tonight, the women's team, came back from a 2-goal deficit down 2-4 with 3 minutes left in the game, scored the overtime winner. Matt Ryder had the call for that one. And Reagan, you were in the building for that comeback. I mean, what an effort by the women's team. 7-0, their best start in club history. And what a resilient effort after a game where they really didn't play all that well.
It's been a phenomenal start to the year for the women's team, as Michigan-Flint had 4 guys out on the ice thinking they were on a penalty kill. They aren't.
Kylie Del Rey had the hat trick, and boy, has she come in to be the leading scorer for that team. That one was almost deflected in front by Nathan Bottles. And credit to that women's team. They have had a great string of games, and, when sometimes you don't have your greatest night, your resilience is tested, and they came back in that one and stay undefeated officially in the season, #1 in the CCWHA standings. And for a CMU fan, an exciting time for 2 good hockey teams here on CCHN. As look out, we're going to get another whistle called here.
Morgan's going to go off for an elbowing penalty. Referees not letting either team get away with much.
And, we're focused on the game here tonight, but talking about that women's team, they had a phenomenal first period. The second, they kind of slowed down the pace. Adrian College able to notch up a lead in that one, 2-1, where Kylie Del Rey answered. And then on power play goals, Adrian gave up 3 tonight against that women's team. Their woes continue that we talked about. Adrian College's women's Division II team not having the best of time on the penalty kill, but CMU and Kylie Del Rey take over to get the overtime winner in dramatic fashion and give them their 7th win of the season. And, a good time to be a Chippewa fan is, the Division III and Division II team, both that we cover here on CCHN, find themselves at very interesting points in the season, especially now that we see a very good bounce-back performance from this Chippewa team on the ice currently.
And another thing, both both the men's D3 team and another penalty on CMU here. Rychuk's going to go to the box for a slash.
Boy, oh boy, 2 penalties now up for the Chippewas. They were already shorthanded from Connor Morgan's elbow. And now with 13:58 to go in this hockey game, Michigan-Flint finds themselves on a 2-man advantage. And one that has come few and far between. We haven't really seen CMU with a lot of 5-on-3 action this year, other than late in that Notre Dame game number 2 that eventually went to overtime and led to a Notre Dame game-winning goal. But Wolverines trying to muster something here. Get back on the score sheet now. Working up top with it, down low. Here's working with it in the slot area. Gunnar Birmingham trying to get it a feed there for his forward Owen Morrison, and Morrison couldn't handle the initial attempt. Now back to the slot. Across there inside the slot, and good job clogging up the middle there with Sam Camara to take away that pass attempt. Now Gunnar Birmingham gets it back. He'll sit with it to the corner now, working down low with Morrison again, who will twirl with it. Leaves it again, drop pass, and looking to go in front somewhere, and CMU defending the middle very well, keeps them from doing that. Owen Lawson now, back down low to Josh Appleberg. Back up top, now to the wing for Zeitler. Back across for Appleberg, couldn't handle the pass, too much heat on it. And now gets it back one more time for Zeitler, who winds up. And a nice save there by Lauren Jones off the blocker side. In front for Appleberg.
2 great pass breakups there by Sam Camara to knock away cross-ice feeds.
29 seconds to go in this 5-on-3. It'll be 5-on-4 for about another 30 after that. A quick one-timer from the top of the right circle, negated well wide of the goal area. Justin Zeitler back down low, trying to one-touch feed to Appleberg, and going away to whack away at it was Charlie Hayes to negate that attempt. Now Zeitler once again for the slot, winds up, puck close in the slot area. Camara takes care of the loose change with help from Hayes, and a good clearing attempt from Central Michigan on a phenomenal penalty kill.
What a great penalty kill there for Central Michigan. I don't think Michigan-Flint had maybe, 2 shots on goal. They didn't get a ton of pressure, but they had complete control. CMU just did a good job to break up those cross-ice passes. Now they got 20 seconds left on a penalty kill.
Up top to the blue line, missed pass intended for Appleberg. He gets it back off the half wall. Isaac Gibbs fighting hard with him, the sophomore, on this penalty kill. 10 seconds left to go in this Wolverine. 5-on-4 now, and a great glove save there from Elijah Jones to negate Owen Morrison's attempt.
You know what Elijah Jones has shown me in the first 10 games for Central Michigan? He's played 3 of them thus far. He has some great fundamentals as a netminder. He keeps that catching glove out in front, presents it out in front of his head, so not only he can see it in his peripheral vision, but it also allows him to, if it goes off of his glove, maybe have a second chance at it once it goes behind him. He's one of the few CMU goaltenders, and one of the few goaltenders that I see in the ACHA that does present that glove like that.
Power play unsuccessful for the Wolverines, unofficially their 5th of the night. And that one's negated. They now go 1 for 5 in that tally. And for 6 now, Reagan is mentioning 1 for 6 on the night. You know, Elijah Jones, the freshman from Port Huron, Michigan, didn't really play on a great high school squad where he was, but a lot of his teammates used to tell me that, look, he was a steady presence for them, and in games where he knew their team couldn't win, as that one's going to give arm the whistle of the referee as Ben Reiching was taken down to the ice. It's a fact of Elijah Jones has had good opportunities to play against good teams. Notre Dame, he played phenomenal in that second game, Reagan. Didn't get the win, but he really saved the game for them at times. And he pitched a shutout earlier this year against Lake Superior State all the way back on October 1st. I mean, if you're head coach Tyler Catalan right now, we talk about a goaltender battle, but you've got 2 steady, albeit short, goaltenders that know how to move and use their mobility.
It's certainly a change for Central Michigan from a year ago. They had Thomas Rolfe, one of the tallest netminders in the ACHA. He was able to use his length to cut off low passes, and he was just a quick goaltender. But both the goaltenders that have played a majority of the time for CMU this year, oh, look out, whoa, Roberts was about 2 feet from the ground, and he flips that puck in the direction of Ben Rychuk, and Rychuk certainly getting in the head of Luke Roberts here, something he does best.
Did we miss that ever, Reagan? Man, Ben Rychuk always making things interesting at the front of the net. Good shot attempt by Connor Morgan, really, and we talked about the freshman having a goal here tonight, his 5th of the season, leading all rookies on the team in scoring, and coming into his own. Isaac Gibbs winds up for the top of the right circle. That one's easily gloved once again by Roberts. And Reagan, as a goaltender, what do you see from this battle? You've got 2 solid netminders that have made their case. Lauren Jones made 3 crucial game-saving attempts in the third period. But Elijah Jones has looked good tonight. He looked good against Notre Dame. I mean, what do you do?
I think at this point, it's not necessarily a goaltending battle. I think if you're Tyler Cataline, you've seen through the first 10 games of this season that you have two very solid netminders that can play in almost any game for you. And so I think it's not necessarily of who's the starter. It's and look, Ben Rychuk gets his first of the year.
What a goal. That was set in front off the end boards, and Rychuk's able to pick up the loose change. The senior from Granville tallies his first, as Reagan mentioned, putting the Central Michigan Chippewas up 8-1 in this tilt, and that one unofficially coming at 9:40 of the third period. And what an effort by Ben Rychuk. Finally gets his first of the year, Reagan. We've talked about it so much throughout not just this broadcast but previous that Rychuk has had an offensive presence at the front of the net. He just hasn't been able to capitalize. He does right there.
And that puts him at 3 points on the campaign with an assist on the first Porzondik goal of the night here this evening, and getting his first of the year on a tap on the back door. He's been all over the ice, and it's good to see him back in the scoring column for Central Michigan.
Fourth line back out there for them. Andrew Miller, Hayden Flynn, and Tyler Martin working with it. And how about another player try and get him his first goal? Tyler Martin had a beautiful chance earlier in this hockey game in the second period and just missed on a wide open feed in the slot area. Boy, that would have been crazy if the transfer from Oakland could have scored there.
And this is a good game for that fourth line to get some experience. They don't play a ton, being that fourth line as they are, but it's good to see Flynn and Flynn and Miller and Martin get on the ice to get some experience and to keep them invested in this team. And I know that's something that Flynn's had trouble with, frustrations in not getting moved up to the third line. And
that one should have called a trip there on Austin Ritter, none coming. But yeah, as you mentioned, Reagan, we've said so that, look, Central Michigan for the first time in a while has had 4 good lines to work with. And, they really haven't used a lot of that to their advantage. They've kind of been running 2, 2.5, 3 lines. Brendan Clements, as we said, moved up to that third line. Look out, big shoulder check there from Andrew Porzondik right to the mouth of Owen Morrison. And, man, talk about a player that's been all over. But
Porzondik
I do as much as you.
Tripping Morrison as he goes up the ice.
All lines getting involved tonight here for CMU, and it's been that kind of night for them as we're going to get a whistle here.
Interference, the call. Not sure who it's going to be on. Is it on Flint or is it on CMU? 23 blue, so it's going to be Morrison off.
And Porzondik smiling after he just checked him over this side. He waving his stick. Andrew Porzondik, always a character for CMU, and might as well has a hat trick here tonight. Only had an assist last night against Flint at Crystal Fieldhouse, but scored 3 against Notre Dame. Unofficially 2 hat tricks this season for Andrew Porzondik. And you talk about players that have come into their own tonight and have shined. Jay Nadu with 2 tonight. Andrew Porzondik, we've been waiting for these guys to get involved in the scoring tally after Isaac Gibbs and Nathan Bottles have been good. And look out, Nick Karstens is heated at the Michigan-Flint bench.
He has been giving it to the referees all the previous night, and now look out. He's coming into the box to take Morrison out, and it looked like one of the referees was motioning that Morrison had been kicked out of the game. And indeed he has been.
So they're going to give Owen Morrison the game. Some misconduct.
Maybe for unsportsmanlike conduct and abuse of officials here, but he's going to hit the showers early, 11 minutes into this third period.
Boy, that's the first time in a while we've seen something like that, Reagan. A lot of CMU players were sent off last year at home ice, notably Ben Rychuk, one of those. But in a game like this, obviously emotions get high. It hasn't been Flint's night. They only tallied 1 goal here tonight from Gunnar Birmingham late in that first period. And afterwards, it's just been all CMU rolling in this second game of this weekend series. And now they're going to bring everyone back to the boards and call a timeout.
I'm pretty sure, I think CMU took the timeout here just to regroup before this power play. And since they took one, we'll take one as well. You're watching CMU D3 Club Hockey on the CMU Club Hockey Network. 8-1. CMU leads, 11 left here, or 9 minutes left here in the period.
Back inside Martin Ice Arena, 8:54 to go in the hockey game. Central Michigan up big, 8-1. The most recent goal scorer, Ben Rychuk, notching his first of the season. Also had an assist tonight off of Julian Johnson's goal late in that second period. So CMU on the power play for the next minute and 37 after Owen Morrison was sent off with a game misconduct. So he left the hockey game for that. And he'll hit the showers early and be facing a one-game suspension, possibly. But who knows? You know, that's just based on last year's presumption. We don't actually know the official facts.
The one-game suspensions came with the fighting disqualification.
That is true. Which
CMU had struggled with
last
year.
Speaking off the tongue too quick here. All these views are my own. We just talked about something off air that was our own views, right, Reagan?
Indeed we did. 8:02 to go here in the third, 1 minute to go
so
in the power play.
Christopher Martin will work with it. With Charlie Hayes, you know, that defensive duo has kind of shuffled around a bit this year, but Austin Ritter's played time with Charlie Hayes, and they've looked better. Here's Andrew Porzanik, a nice one-touch feed there from Bottles. Got it deep into the zone, never took the shot, but it allows CMU to set up on the forecheck. 40 seconds to go in their power play. Keelan Baker tried to backhand one in front, and that was negated. Andrew Porzanik working at the end boards, tied up with a defenseman. That was Zeiter. He gets it back up top now for Sam Camara with Isaac Gibbs playing at the blue line, funny enough, and takes a shot off a Michigan defender's leg, and that one goes up and out of play.
Yeah, some good power play zone time here for CMU in period number 3. They're up 8-1, and Michigan-Flint getting frustrated here, taking some bad penalties, chirping at the refs, getting some penalties, and they need to keep their cool here as this game goes on. It's never good, as we've seen with Central Michigan. They've had troubles with it in the past of keeping their cool when they're down big, and it's cost them not only in penalties but also in suspensions.
Martin couldn't handle a one-touch pass from Austin Ritter and allows the Wolverines to come the other way. Josh Appleberg, nice defensive play by Christopher Martin to poke the stick in there. A shot, and that one's whistled off. Or is it? I really think Elijah Jones was playing that puck, and Owen Lawson shot it from point-blank range, and the referees look like they're going to give it to here. That confused me, Reagan, but nonetheless, it's a Michigan Wolverine goal.
I think Lauren Jones thought that the play had been whistled down, and it wasn't. We didn't hear a whistle from up here, and Elijah Jones just stopped playing and
play to the whistle.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, that allows Elijah Jones' second goal of the night. Not going to hurt help his save percentage, but nonetheless an impressive outing from the freshman goaltender, who hasn't seen a whole lot of action from this third period, or really at all late in that second period either, but still playing solid in his net. Allowed 2 tonight. So late in the third period, Michigan notches their second, and Owen Lawson gets the goal right there, and boy, he was the player that scored that funky goal that went off Austin Ritter tonight, eh?
Yeah, so 2 funky goals, and I think for Elijah Jones, if he were playing at a higher level, we might see a certain YouTube sensation yelling, if you're a goaltender, 10 the goal on that. He didn't really play to the whistle there. Good block there by Brandon Gill.
You mind telling us who you're referring to there?
I'm referring to Steve Dangle. You know who I'm referring to.
Isn't that the crazy Maple Leafs fan that
yes.
hasn't seen his team win anything in about 20 years? Poor guy. I'd be miserable too.
I don't blame him.
Hayden
Says
Flynn.
the Red Wings fan.
No, give me a break. It's been 6 years. Trust the eyes are playing. Here's Tyler Martin behind the net working with it.
6
Fourth
years.
line back over the way to Sam Camara. Takes a shot from the blue line. That one got blocked off the right leg of Grayson McKenzie. And that one comes back to him with the blue line. CMU with some good offensive zone time once again with 5:45 to go in this hockey game. CMU putting up 3 goals in the first period, 4 in the second, and 1 more off of Ben Reinchuk's tally at the middle part of this third frame. Now look out, breakout chance for Owen Lawson, who just scored the most recent goal. Tries to go to the backhand, a rebound attempt in front, and a good opportunity there negated from Nicholas Gorney after Andrew Siraki got back on the play quick enough. So here's Camara now working with an upright wing. Over his own blue line, he'll wait with Siraki, allows him to enter the zone cleanly. He'll dump this one in, fall down on the play after he caught his own blade, and Andrew Chapono gets it over to Roberts, who scoops this one up. And, Roberts, he's seen a couple of good looks here tonight late in this third, and he probably didn't feel too good about being pulled in the middle part of that second frame.
Indeed. If you're looking for game report stats, schedules and more, take a trip to cmshicehockey.com. There you can find those and much more, including player information, recruiting information, apparel, and more. That's cmICHHOCKEY.com.
Here's Keelan Baker tied up in the offensive zone by Ryan and Hayden. Sends it in front there for Nadu. Backdoor chance for Isaac Gibbs, not able to capitalize. Chapono blew a tire and allowed Isaac Gibbs to get the puck possessed. And back out to neutral zone for Keelan Baker. Cross ice feed attempted for Jay Nadu, negated. And now Isaac Gibbs falling all over the place, looking like a ballerina. Gets tied up with Ryan Hayden on the play and gets up gingerly. Going to see him skate away from that one.
Okay, and I know it's a 6-goal game, but Duke gets twisted around like a ballerina. You don't call a hook.
Referee Reagan Cleese coming out to play, and here's Isaac Gibbs to play. It takes a shot from the slot, and that one just turned wide after it was blocked. Now sent in front there, Keelan Baker, nobody home except Michigan defenders. And good takeaway by Baker at the blue line. Wow, he caught up right there on the defender, Daniel Coughlin, to take that puck away, and it continues the offensive zone time for CMU. This one, though, is pressured around. Dave Dadu to pick it up, and that one now is sent across there where Ryan Hayden plays it at the circle. Now finally over the line, Michigan-Flint with 3:50 to go in this hockey game. Clears it out of the zone. Jay Nadu whacks away at it. Christopher Martin takes it. He'll go D-to-D with Austin Ritter. Ritter moves up left wing with it. Fresh bodies on the ice. Porzanic and Morgan to replace Baker. And now here's Connor Morgan working in with it. Josh Appleberg pressured him. And boy, did the Chippewas ever pressure or contain Appleberg tonight, Reagan. We're going to talk about it in the postgame show. That was one of our keys to the game. Keep Josh Appleberg off the scoring sheet, and they have so far.
He's been a non-existent force for Michigan-Flint. He's had a couple of offensive opportunities, but really hasn't been able to get a ton on the scoring sheet.
Puck thrown in front. Nice defensive play by Owen Lawson to negate Andrew Porzanic's one-timer. Bottles stepped around 2 defenders. Back to the half wall. Austin Ritter with a good keep, but can't stay on his skates. And Porzanic has to go back to play it for him. Oh, boy, this game, they can't, that bench can't chirp him, but I'm sure with how big of a lead it is, but I'm sure they were thinking about it. Here's Nathan Bottles from a short angle, trying to stuff it home, glove side on Roberts, and couldn't make it happen. Here's Christopher Martin tying up for the blue line. Loose puck in front. Nathan Bottles tries the wraparound attempt and lost it off his blade, trying to go through the backhand, and now sends one in front and nobody home to attend to that one. Austin Ritter plays it all the way from Elijah Jones. 2:30 to go in this hockey game. Central Michigan in an 8-2 tilt. Most recent goal scored by Owen Lawson in very wacky fashion after Elijah Jones basically stopped playing the puck after he thought the whistle had come, and it didn't. So Julian Johnson plays it up in a 6-goal notch against the Wolverines. And, we're going to talk about it more on the postgame show, Reagan, but this is going to be a massive win for CMU just because of the implications of what happened the last 2 weeks before this. Losses to Ferris State, Florida Gulf Coast, and Notre Dame. And Notre Dame, one of the teams that should be ranked one of the best in the nation going into the first rankings, but we saw yesterday that it's pretty controversial
It's
with
a pretty interesting ranking.
5 wins. Sacred Heart ranked #1 in the nation. A little
Now, kudos to them.
funky
They
there.
are 5-0. But one of the weird things that I thought about it was if you go into the full computer rankings, you'll find in the subtext it says that every team started on an even playing field this season, which I think is just a little bit odd because it makes it so that you have national title contenders. 16 teams won the national tournament last year. I believe 2 or 3 of them are in the top 16 to start the year, even though they have at most 2 or 3 losses on the season.
6 of the 16 teams at nationals last year came from the Midwest, and notably the MCHC region. Hope College, along with Central Michigan, a couple of other teams that from this region have been dominant and made the tournament. As we mentioned, the stat unofficially 12 of the last 13 national championships at Division III have come from this region. And so a little peculiar to see some Northeast teams getting put in the top 5, but nonetheless, we'll see what comes of it the next couple of weeks. Here's moving in the Wolverines. Nice play to get back was Camara on Grayson McKenzie, who never got the shot off with 1:13 to go in this third period of play. Central Michigan scored 1. Michigan-Flint with 1.
Kiel diving out to make that block in front, shaking his hand. After that, maybe he got chopped. You hope he's all right.
Andrew Miller sends a puck in after he went up for the quick change. Hayden Flynn gets shoved over at the far side half wall. Austin Ritter comes in after it was twirled around. And they'll meet there with Andrew Chapono, the captain for the Wolverines. Going to have to go home with a tough night, and they're going to have a tough ride home back all the way to Burton, Michigan after this one. CMU will go on next week to play Saginaw Valley State, the red-hot Cardinals, who have had big wins over great opponents. We talked about Hope College being one of them. They also took down Grand Valley State. And a team in the MCHC that's looking to notch their presence, and in a league that really anybody can win right now at the first half of the season, it looks so. 13 seconds to go. Central Michigan, Austin Ritter will hold. CMU, after the 6-5 overtime win last night, comes back on home ice. 3 goals in the first period, 4 in the second, and 1 to finish off. They dominate on home ice here over the Wolverines and sweep the weekend series. Central Michigan wins 8-2, the final from Martin Ice Arena. Stay tuned with us. We'll have the post-game show ready for you here on CCHN with myself and Reagan Cleaves to talk about this one and the out-of-town scoreboard. Stay with us. You've watched Central Michigan hockey here on CCHN. All right. First star, Andrew Porzondik. Are you the color guy? I'll let you decide it.
Give me a second.
Oh, you're trying to fix the final?
Yeah, oops.
Oops. It's all right.
No.
Yeah, you're in studio mode, so it's not going to play for you.
Yep. No, I know. There we go. I had it as 8-8 instead of...
Matt, just leave that final graphic up there during our post-game show.
Yeah. So basically, you'll go here, you'll have it play, and then just stop it. So what you'll do...
I have been here since 2 o'clock. Welcome to the postgame show presented by CMHIceHockey.com after CMU sweeps the Michigan-Flint Wolverines this weekend, winning tonight 8-2, the final after Andrew Porzondek, Jay Nadeau had a big night. 5 points on the night for Andrew Porzondek, and we're going to talk about it as I have to get up on the benches here at Martin Ice Arena to level.
Devin is. We got to compensate for his height.
They made the arena here just for me, just for this, the grandstands, if you couldn't tell. What a night. I mean, we saw scoring from 5 different Chippewas tonight. Andrew Porzondek, 5 points in 2 of his last 3 games. He had a 5-point night against Notre Dame and a hat trick. Phenomenal.
He has been absolutely phenomenal. Not only is that 10 points or 5 points in 2 of his last 3 games, that is points in 4 straight, Devin. He got the first goal of the Notre Dame series, followed by a 5-point night the night after, and then last night he had a couple of points, and then tonight coming out with another hat trick and 2 assists.
The senior from Macomb is 1 goal away from matching his goal total from last season. He has 11 on the team here today, and that's a team-leading goal total now. He surpasses Isaac Gibbs and Nathan Bottles, so more can you say about Porzondek? We'll talk about him and more on the postgame show. Our players to watch tonight were Keelan Baker and Nathan Bottles. Keelan Baker had a phenomenal, not just a game, but a weekend series tonight. He's actually sitting over here with his parents alongside his grandparents talking, and a lot of good stuff happened from a captain that didn't just get on the scoring sheet for the goal yesterday, but he's been all over manning the forecheck.
Yeah, Keelan Baker has been a phenomenal asset for the CMU team, not only as a leader, but also on the ice. He's got goals, and I believe 3 straight. He's been passing the puck with ease, and he's got a really good hockey IQ, and it shows why he's not only wearing the C, but also why he's one of the top point getters for CMU.
Nathan Bottles was our other player to watch tonight. Surprisingly, did not have a goal in this game, although he had plenty of good looks. One of our players to watch, along with Keelan Baker for CMU. On the Notre Dame side, I wrote down U of M Flint. Josh Appleberg kept off the score sheet. One of our keys to the game was to keep him capped and prevent him from scoring tonight. The CMU Chippewas did that. Really a non-factor at all in this game, and really a surprise coming off of a hat trick night where he got his team back in it in the last night, and in this one it just got away from him early.
Yeah, it did get away from U of M Flint, and last night they were able to come back. CMU, the difference in tonight's game was the fact that CMU did not let up. They had basically the similar situation. They were up 3-1 here at the end of the first period of play. They had a 3-goal lead 2 minutes into period number 2 last night, and the difference between that night and tonight is CMU didn't get complacent. Last night we saw them slow down a little bit, not put as much pressure on the forecheck and on the back check. They didn't really play as hard as they should have, but tonight there was a completely different story. They kept up the pressure, didn't allow Michigan-Flint to get a break and a breather, and it showed with the 8-2 win.
Owen Morrison was our other player to watch, sent off in the third period for a game misconduct, Reagan, and we'll see what the results are of that. If you're a Michigan-Flint fan, that's a tough look, especially in a game where it really just got away from him, like you mentioned early. Our keys to the game tonight were face-offs, along with pucks on net and looking for dirty goals, Reagan. They kind of did both of that tonight. We saw some very funky goals happen tonight. There was one, notably in the second period, when Keelan Baker sent a puck in front. It went off the skate blade of Jay Nadeau and in the net. And we saw Luke Roberts pulled for Ryan Rogers, who played phenomenal last night, but a very interesting move. And then he came back in the third period, but the face-offs were a little bit better tonight, I'd say.
Yeah, the face-offs certainly were a lot better for CMU, and they've gotten better over the last couple of games. Last night they weren't good by any stretch of the imagination, but they improved a little bit from the Notre Dame series. They had really struggled against Notre Dame in the face-off circles, but they got a little bit of momentum last night, but tonight they came out and just dominated in the face-off circles, and it showed.
As we talked about, Josh Appleberg was our third key of the game to contain him. CMU did that, kept off the scoring sheet tonight. The only goal is scored by Gunnar Birmingham, as well as Owen Lawson, who once again scores a funky goal from a weird angle. That really was Elijah Jones not even playing the puck after a whistle wasn't called late. We've seen it all this series. I mean, we saw a single-handed Zegras. We saw an own goal. We saw everything you can think of this weekend, and what a way for CMU to bounce back after dropping 4 straight to Ferris State, Florida Gulf Coast, and Notre Dame. This is a weekend series they desperately needed to get back on track. Our 3 stars of the game tonight, presented once again by SeamanChiSoccer.com and Optimex Sports. Ben Rychek was given the 3rd star, the first goal of his 2022-23 campaign, and what a good story, especially how well he's played through his first 8 this season. He's been all over the forecheck, just hasn't really notched a lot of scoring, being on that 3rd line. That's had a lot of movement with Julian Johnson there. A great effort from just one of the best human beings on this team.
Oh, yeah, certainly. Ben Rychuk, one of the best human beings. I interviewed him earlier last week for a class. He's just phenomenal. He does a ton of – he's basically the philanthropy leader on this team, loves to reach out to community events. Before yesterday's game, they went down to East Lansing and helped out with the Special Olympics floor hockey down in East Lansing. He's a great guy on and off the ice, and it's really good to see him finally get his first goal of the campaign here tonight.
And great work by our Chippewas helping out with that in Special Olympics. We'd like to thank them as well for allowing our players to contribute to that cause that is so well to our hearts. Our 2nd star of the game was Jay Nadeau, who notched 2 goals on the night here. He's had 3 goals this weekend series after we talked about yesterday his cold streak, only having 2 assists in 4 games. He comes back here tonight with 3 goals on the weekend. Overall, a sound effort from him. And our 1st star of the night, Andrew Porzanic, completes the hat trick, his 2nd in 3 games, and a 5-point night, matching that 2nd game he had against Notre Dame where he took over and got the Chippewas back in that game. He's been all over, and he does it all again.
I don't think we can say much more. Porzanic has been dominant the last couple of weekends, and for him, it's really good to see him get clicking as he matures as part of the leadership group of this CMU Chippewas team. He's been the heart and soul of this team the last couple of weekends. He powered CMU to a single-handed comeback victory with overtime loss rather at Notre Dame with 5 points, 3 of them goals. And that's what got CMU basically rolling the last 3 games. He kind of sparked that CMU offense in game number 2 against Notre Dame, and since then he has been on a roll and virtually unstoppable.
So looking ahead for CMU, they will take on Saginaw Valley State, the red-hot Cardinals, no pun intended, on November 11th. Reagan, they have been rolling 10-1 to start their first 11 games. They took down Hope College earlier this year. They beat Grand Valley State. Chippewas have a tall task next week, and it's a good thing they had a bounce-back weekend because this might be their toughest matchup yet.
Oh, indeed. Saginaw Valley State was a team that snuck into nationals last year at the number 15 spot, but this year they're showing that they're a much different squad. Taking down a Hope Flying Dutchman team that hadn't lost in a year and a half, they have played.
You believe that, folks? Wow.
I know. It's ridiculous. Hope has been dominant in Division III the past couple of seasons, and despite what the rankings show to start this year, I don't think Saginaw Valley State is a number 17 in the nation. I think they are a good they're top 10 along with Notre Dame and Hope. This is a really hard schedule for CMU, and they play in the hardest division to play in Division III, and it's their hardest test this season is going to come next week against Saginaw Valley State.
And after that, they're going to take on Grand Valley State, who they haven't played in a regular season game in almost 3 years. Couple of notable matches for CMU coming up in this one. So that'll be slate for an 8:30 broadcast time, 9 p.m. puck drop right here from Martin Ice Arena on November the 11th. You can tune into that game as well right here on CCHN with myself and Reagan Cleaves. Tomorrow, the women's team is in action against Adrian College. They had a phenomenal 6-5 overtime win here. In dramatic fashion, they scored 2 goals in the later stages of the 3rd period to notch it up on a power play. And oddly enough, Kylie Del Rey got the hat trick tonight. Finishing that off. So tomorrow, 1 p.m. puck drop time. Myself and Matt Rado will be on the call from Arrington Ice Arena as well. You can catch that game on CCHN. We'd like to look one more time at our out-of-town scoreboards and remind you Ferris State upset Florida Gulf Coast 3-2 tonight in Estero, Florida after getting blanked 6-0 last night. A good showing for Ferris State and honestly kind of a blank loss. And it's an example of how crazy this year has been, and one where we can say now after this week almost anybody can beat anybody in ACHA Division III. We'd like to thank our cameraman for tonight, Matt Ryder, for helping us with camera as well as producing. We'd like to thank our co-associate Victoria for her producing and camera work as well on the women's side of the broadcast tonight. As always, you can catch the Griffins with Bob Kaiser and Lane Fergusi on Wood Radio, 1300, 106.9 FM. The Spirit on 100.5 and 790 WSGW. The Red Wings, they won 3-0 today against the Islanders, so good effort from the Red Wings. You're a Bruins fan, so you're irrelevant to this conversation, but
I mean, I am a Bruins fan, so
I had to. Nonetheless, we'd like to thank all of our associates at CCHN. Reagan, final thoughts from tonight.
Yeah, tonight was a really good bounce-back game for Central Michigan after a win last night, but it was a little bit of a frustrating one with a couple of quirky bounces, and things didn't necessarily go their way, especially leading with that Michigan-Flint tie back in the third period, though they didn't win it in overtime. But it was a dominant performance here tonight, and they really didn't. They leaned on Andrew Porzondik again. He's been hot, and I don't see why they should stop giving him the opportunities to be a phenomenal player and to shine here for the CMU.
It'll be a pancake party at the hockey house tonight, and hopefully we'll be in attendance because I need some food. We've been here a while, Reagan. It's time to go home and get a good meal.
Oh, yeah. Too, man.
Oh, yeah. About 2:30, had the puck drop for the women's game, and then came right back to turn around for this one. It was a night, folks, but a good night to be a Chippewa here from Martin Ice Arena. That'll just about do it for our broadcast here today. For myself, Reagan Cleaves, Matt Ryder, Joe Lazier, and the rest of our fantastic production crew, we thank you for watching this presentation of CMU Hockey. Final score tonight, Central Michigan 8 over Michigan-Flint. They sweep the weekend series and continue on against Saginaw Valley State next week. For everyone at CCHN here, we say so long and have a wonderful night, everybody.